Calling our meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. We'll have the invocation and pledge of allegiance by Pastor Terry Bush.
Let's pray. Father, thank you for this day. What a beautiful day it's been. Lord, I pray that your peace would fill this room, and Lord, that everyone in this room would remember why we're here, to advance the business of Lynn Haven. Lord, I pray that personal agendas and items of emotion or retribution or revenge, Lord, would be put aside, and people would have the mindset of advancing the business of the city of Lynn Haven. Lord, I pray that you would just move in this place tonight. I pray for your peace and your presence to be here, and let this meeting proceed with decorum and order, and just let the business of this city be accomplished. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, this time of our public commentary. Rich Walker.
Good evening. I get to start first. For years, we've been listening to voices from there with certain people sitting in that seat over there saying us, we have to forget about the past and move on. The citizens have been telling you, you cannot forget about the past. You have to learn from the past. And if you don't learn, the past is going to come back and kick you in the teeth. You didn't learn. That person is gone now. And we can stop this senseless saying, forget the past and move on. Now you have the past hitting you right in the face. We've gone from 90 employees when I first arrived here to 220. Of those 220, we have a directive in the legislative board, directors. We have lost 2 of those. The city planner is gone, and I'm going to say this, my opinion, God willing, I'm glad. We have a city manager gone. I will not say I'm glad she's gone. No. She did her job as best she could. Okay? We have a mayor that's gone. If we hadn't had Mayor Margot here during the hurricane, we would not have made it. Regardless of that, you've got to remember one thing. All the indictments, 3 indictments, 3 sets of indictments, 62 indictments, never proved anything against her. We have to learn from the past. You're in the future now. You've got a lot of trouble. You've got a lot of trouble. Your CEO is gone. Your clerk is gone. 2 of your directors are gone. Your hiring capabilities from the past were inadequate. When you went to find your CPA, chief of finance, he couldn't come to work. City manager asked him why he couldn't come to work. He was in jail. I'm taking a look at all the records of some of the people that have been hired here. You're very, very lacking in your judicial look at that people. You've got a planning commission lady gone, good. You've got a building inspector or administrator gone, thank God. And nobody coming in. Your planning officer's coming in on September, and you know nothing about her. Is she going to be the same as the planning officer we had? I don't know. Take a look at your past, see what you've done, and your future does not look very well. And that's the future I'm going to have to live with, and we're going to have to put up with. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan Scray.
Good Good evening, Commission. I left a sample checklist that I'll talk about in my commentary here for each one of you to review. So after conducting an extensive public records review of the City Hall rebuild, I need to express my deep concern with what I uncovered in Lynn Haven's procurement practices. What I found was not a matter of interpretation or policy preference. It was the alarming absence of the most basic foundational elements of any responsible government purchasing system. Let me be clear, there was no procurement checklist provided to me. Not one, not even for the largest capital project in recent city history. This is not a minor oversight. When I was trained in government procurement by the Department of Defense over 15 years ago, we were taught two things first. One, know your regulations, and two, maintain a checklist in every file. That's day one ground level stuff. But that's not all. I reviewed 18 purchases over $35,000 that were made under the guise of owner direct purchases, ODPs. Yet Lynn Haven's procurement policy doesn't even authorize ODPs. It doesn't even mention them. And even if it did, the policy would still require either competition by threshold or documented justification for a single source. Neither was provided in the records I received. No competition, no justification, no transparency. This isn't a paperwork error. This is a structural failure of policy and training and oversight. And frankly, it extends back probably decades at this point. Commissioners, this should shake you to your core. I urge you to act not with a memo or a Band-Aid fix, but with serious commitment to overhaul. What I propose is that instead of a full audit, bring in a procurement expert or a firm dedicated to this topic. Let them guide a full modernization of the city's procurement system from file structure to policy clarity to staff training. Ensure that internal audit capability, such as with a future city clerk, is real, empowered, and continuous. As for your annual audits, you need to raise the bar. These critical gaps were never flagged. That should concern you. You need to be asking for more in these annual audits. Lynn Haven has been operating without the most basic controls in place to keep it stable, and that's not just risky, it's unsustainable. Show the leadership that this city deserves. Act now to professionalize and modernize procurement, empowering your staff to do the job well and to do it right before one of these gaps becomes an actual crisis. Thank you.
All right, Corey Langford.
Good afternoon. It's good to be back here at 5:30. I wish all of these meetings were at this time. Wanted to talk about a couple of things. Number one, I remember y'all voting on the stormwater stuff, and when it came to vacant lots, I spoke with Ms. Lightfoot on this briefly, so I'll keep it short, but I don't think the tax folks over there got the memo because I'm still paying more for my dirt across the street than I am for my pool deck and house and everything else. So maybe take a look into that. I think it was like a nominal fee for vacant property. The second thing is I just did a cursory review of the contract for the stormwater outfall, and one thing that caught my eye was on page 2 under the Article 4 of the subcontract, and the last sentence of the first paragraph reads, "The contractor is encouraged to seek minority and women business enterprises for participation in subcontracting opportunities." I don't know really why that's there. If you want to leave the sentence, I would request that you all say that the contractor is encouraged to seek the most qualified to conduct subcontracting stuff. Other than that, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, Thomas Tucker.
Good evening. Thomas Tucker, Tennessee Avenue. My wife and I moved here about 4 years ago after I retired. I was a human resources executive for about 40 years, working for several large corporations, and 3 years with the investigative division of the Office of Personnel Management as the national director. In my former roles, I was a subject matter expert in employee relations, recruitment, and labor law, which I taught. I'm here today to suggest to the Commission that you seriously consider an outside executive search firm for city manager position. In my career, I used several firms, including Korn Ferry, and Korn Ferry has placed city managers in the state of Florida. This isn't inexpensive, looking at $30,000 to $50,000. However, these firms use algorithms based on your requirements and your parameters. They do the initial searches, bring you 3 to 5 finalists, set up interviews, do extensive background checks, negotiate final compensation, and in some cases, offer you guarantees in case your hires don't work out, and that happens. They'll also, these firms will look at local candidates and in-house people if you so identify those. You have to have your own requirements and parameters. And if I were the city, if I were advising, I'd say, hey, use a Pew matrix, P-U-G-H matrix. You weigh out must-haves, nice-to-haves, and then you stack rank those. And coming to some of these meetings, no order at all. Must-haves, financial, budgetary management experience, including operating and capital budgets for distressed budgets, community relations, employee relations and development, capital projects management, as well as possible funding options, and a strong procurement knowledge. Nice-haves, working knowledge of Florida statutes, past working knowledge of FEMA administration. You hope you don't need it, good thing to have. Some understanding of labor law and a working knowledge of long-range planning, and you'll probably have more. Like I said, $30,000, $50,000, a lot of money, especially in a tight, distressed budget, which is what you have. But sit back and think, how much money have you overspent? Capital projects, how much money have you spent on fines? How much money have you spent possible mismanagement? And how much money on past, current, and future known litigation? Then make your decision.
David Cromartie.
Good evening. David Cromartie, 1315 Wisconsin Avenue. Offering up some context. It is amazing that Lynn Haven has found itself once again in the throes of controversy. Greed and bigotry, led by social ignorance, have all but shown that we don't know how to be a transformative community. Born in the 1940s and raised throughout the 50s and 60s, I've had many years of experience dealing with racial ill reputes. In the last 6 weeks or so, I've heard at least 4 practicing attorneys scold this governing body for rushing to implement boneheaded decisions. You didn't seek independent corroboration, nor wait for legal judgments before firing the city manager. It appears that you ignored your own charter, which gave guidance on who was to replace Ms. Gaynor in her absence. Could it be that you've already chosen Mr. Lightfoot to be the replacing city manager? We will see, won't we? We will also find out in very short order who truly runs this city. Let that soak in. Just as my father would tell Jim Crow, I'll say to James Crow, Esquire, it's a DNA issue. You cannot rid out of the flesh what's in the blood.
M. Smith.
Hi. I just wanted to speak. I know we've had a change and there's leadership change, but I do believe that we actually need to start from scratch whoever's not on the commission, we need to start from scratch and not have any old blood up here. I believe the city of Lynn Haven has a lot of intelligent people who've offered a lot of advice. If you listen to others, and the more people that can give input, and if you listen, you come up with a better solution. I did happen to listen to your planning board. We're in trouble. I feel myself that we've been raped. The citizens have been raped without permission. We have, and we're talking about, y'all discussed the library, discussed the fire truck, all of this stuff. I suggest, it's my suggestion, that I know certain pockets of money are delegated for certain items. But I think as far as a splash pad or anything new, I think that we should not spend another dime until we are under financial control. And I would question if y'all have met the mark for the Doge, the Florida Doge, as far as auditing. Florida lost confidence in y'all. That should state a lot. But there's just a lot of stuff, and I would have to say I have a vote of no confidence at this point. And y'all need to develop the trust back for your citizens, and I think that you need to listen to them and take heed in what they say, because we're Lynn Haven, not just y'all. Also, and projecting for future revenue. And you're talking property taxes. You know, the state is trying to rid ourselves of property tax. So it'd be wise to think, look at that if property taxes go away, which, you know, they are illegal. What you're gonna do. Instead of digging a hole that we can't pay out of, or we have to pay more taxes and more taxes, because once a tax goes up, it never comes off. So I think the citizens would be willing to forego a splash pad, pickleball over in the Belmont or Bel Air area, in order to get a budget responsible. So maybe we really do have some cash and it doesn't disappear like the library money did. Also, I had a thought. Since City Hall here was built with excessive funds that weren't voted on, and it was out of the realm, and they've got really plush accommodations and a lot of room, maybe we could use some of that space for a library.
Thank you. Zach Detweiler.
Good evening, Commission. So I got to watch as much of the financial meeting as I could from my computer on Friday. And I think we can all agree we're in a position where one of two things have to happen. We either have to find new revenue or we have to make cuts. And that's a hard position for a city to be in when economies are doing well, jobs are going up, the area's growing, Tyndall's growing out, people are moving here. To say that we are in a financial problem is unique. We're 8 years out from Michael now, 7, 8 years. We should be over this problem. So I wanted to talk about maybe a couple different ways to do it. Number one, you guys talked about your impact fees and the fund that comes from. Impact fees, for the most part, come from new development. New development is growing around here, right? I mean, they're building neighborhoods all over the place. We have a big one going in off of 26th Street, potentially. Around here, for single-family homes, most developers only pay maybe $1,500, maybe less, if you give them a deal per single-family home. I'm back from the Clearwater, Tampa area. Down there, they're paying in smaller cities $6,000 to $8,000 per single-family home, and some of the counties, you pay as much as $15,000 for a new single-family home. Pasco County has $13,000. Pinellas County, I think, is up over $15,000 now. Hillsborough County is $14,000. Orange County is like $13,800 or something like that. y'all could build a stormwater facility with a couple hundred new homes. You guys could put in stormwater drains. You guys could build out water and sewage and all the things that you need, and have the people that are moving in here that are unfortunately impacting that paying their fair share. You guys need a new fire station out over near Mill Bayou because they want to build 500 new homes. Guess who pays for that? The 500 new homes. Seems fair, right? Why are the people that lived here for 20, 30, 40, 50 years paying for new people to move here? It's a good question. One of the other things that came up recently that I heard about was, certain new neighborhoods, their stormwater drains won't be fixed by the city of Lynn Haven because their HOAs are supposed to take care of it, or this is supposed to take care of it, or that's supposed to take care of it. You need to be careful on how you respond to citizens in that manner, because if they're paying a stormwater tax and their stormwater isn't going to be fixed, that could be a liability situation. Just thoughts.
Jody Moore.
Jody Moore on Amherst Street. I want to actually address something first that the pastor said. There's no retribution on my part. I love the city and I want what's best for the city. I can't even tell you how many past employees and current employees have actually reached out to myself and Jerry to say, we're on the right track and thank you for what you're doing, because we're helping expose some of the things that have gone wrong that need to be fixed in this city. And I hate to contradict Zach, but I think maybe Ms. Tender can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we already have pretty high impact fees, so those are already being collected. I don't know if they can be raised, but that's my understanding. I do want to address two things on the agenda. Regarding the city manager, I just want to ask everybody on this commission to be very careful on who you pick. Doesn't need to be your buddy. It needs to be someone that you think is going to be best for this city, because I personally think the last two choices were not good choices. And you can't even get them out of here with a jackhammer. So you need to make sure that the person you choose, whether they're somebody from here or whether they're from somebody outside, you need to make sure that's the best person who's going to be impartial, who's going to do a good job, who's going to apply the rules equally to everyone. That really needs to happen. The city manager has a whole lot of power. And you as a commission are the boss, but you're one person and you have to convince everybody else to make a decision. So please be careful and think carefully about who you choose. This city can be the best city in Bay County with the right leadership. So going forward, that needs to happen. I also want to just urge you to do the forensic audit as Ms. Tender is asking you to do. The past city manager is already threatening litigation. So I think that to protect yourselves and to have all the facts in front of you, I think a forensic audit would be a great idea. Even a partial one, I don't know. You have a citizen, James Finch, who's offered to pay for it and let you choose someone. He is a Lynn Haven resident. So whether you take that option or not, if the city's cash strapped, you got someone who's willing to step forward and pay for it. And again, he is a citizen. And you can choose the person. He's not directing that whole process. But if you're not comfortable with that, then I think the city should spend a little money to do that. Otherwise, like I said, you're facing litigation from the former city manager. You need to have the facts in front of you. Thank you.
All right, Mitch Oakley.
Oakley, 1208 Massachusetts, Lynn Haven. I could address a couple of things. From my time in business, I rate this, absent of any names and personalities, I rate this as a small to medium-sized business. I started seeing figures, and I'm not disparaging anybody. Everybody's worth $1 million in their own mind. $160-some thousand to manage this effort, and you don't have the problem. You know what real businesses have to do? They have to go out and make the money. They have to go out and make the money before we spend it. Can you hear me? I said a real problem would be not just these little ones. We're $10,000 short on sales tax. We don't have that dilemma here. It's almost a federal system where the money comes to you, cut it up in pieces and hand it out. I would encourage you, don't bring in a high front-end load with this new city manager, and I'm not trying to pick on you. If you bring somebody in at the top, to me, they're only temporary because I'm using them as a consultant and then get rid of them when I don't need them. But if you bring somebody in at $168,000, what are you going to do with them? How do you interest them in raising? Where are they going to go? They're going to leave. They'll price themselves right out of the market. I would want you to look real close and honor your fiduciary responsibilities to us here. I did a walk-in tour of my street. Very few people that are in business around here locally. Now, government's a different story, GS-14s. But very few people make $100,000. And it really sticks in their craw to know that we're going to hire somebody and pay them that kind of money to do this job. So I would think it's a good time to make some changes in the process. We're in between people. Make sure you're going to live with decisions you make.
Additional public commentary.
Apologize, Christy McElroy, a little late coming here. I did a public records request almost 2 weeks ago, and one of the things I asked for was the inspections for the sprinkler system. What I received instead, when you look at it, and I'm going to give these copies to the attorney for her to pass out to y'all, was this. This is a plan. It's not an inspection. It's a plan about how many sprinklers you need. Still want that document that shows that either a fire marshal or somebody, I don't care who it is, I don't care if it's your chief of fire or whatever department, signed off that your sprinkler system is according to code. The other item that I asked for was the temporary and then the permanent CO. I got the temporary, and it's interesting, you know, Mr. Finch talked about verbally. He didn't know who verbally is. So temporary occupancy issued 10/10/2023 verbally. And then you got the signature, it looks like probably the stamp of your ex-building official. Now, I understand that maybe Bay County came in and might have given you a permanent CO. I'd like to have that, please. So the other thing I asked for was the invoices for your sprinkler system, purchasing invoices. I was told it's with Culpeper. Well, how do you know what you're paying for if you don't have the invoices? You don't have all the information about who put it in, and you're paying $18 million for this building. I don't know about y'all, but when I built a house, a custom-built house, I had a contractor. Everything he put in, I asked for an invoice. I know this isn't a house, but in a way it is. It's the people's house. It's the taxpayers' house. I want to see all those invoices. I don't care if Culpeper has them. Those are public documents that anybody should be able to see as a taxpayer. So I'm going to give this to the attorney, and you can see exactly what I got from all of the public records requests that I asked from this city. Listen, this is an opportunity to turn things around. Please take it.
All right. Thank you. Additional public commentary? All right. If not, are there any additions, deletions, modifications to the agenda? All right. Moving on to the commissioner's reports. Commissioner Peebles.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a second, sorry. spent a lot of time these past 2 weeks looking over the budget and talking to Ms. Roman and other people about the money, so I really appreciate it. It was really good. A really good meeting we had last Friday, so appreciate everyone that made that happen. It's available online for anyone that wants to listen to it. I think if it's something that's important to you, I highly suggest going back and listening. It was really good. We're still in budget season, so if you have any suggestions about the budget, all ears. I want to dig through this budget the best I can, so if you have suggestions, bring them to me. I'll talk to you about it maybe. I mean, I don't expect everyone out there to understand necessarily how the city budget works, so I'm also happy to answer questions I know or find questions for you, whichever. But budget season may not be fun to some people. It's fun to me. I've been enjoying digging into the numbers. And thanks for everyone that's participated so far. Thank you to the staff. Fall ball has started up. It's been a lot of fun. Softball, wee ball, it's been great. Again, thank you to the staff, first responders, and everybody else. And if anybody has anything, feel free to reach out. Thanks.
Commissioner Perno.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioner Peebles. Echo your sentiments on all that. And the only thing I have is tomorrow there'll be a St. Andrew Bay Estuary Policy Board meeting at 1 o'clock on the third floor of Florida State. I'll be there. Also Wednesday is the TPO meeting. That's at 3:30 at Bay Transit. So if there's anything anybody wants to bring up with DOT or any issues, it would be a great time to discuss. So I have something to bring to the meeting on behalf of Lynn Haven. I know there's some issues that always get brought up, and we're always asking DOT how long is it going to take to finish the paving project and the building of the bridge over near Cato Road and whatnot. So, and it seems like 390's the construction through Lynn Haven is done well, and you can see the streamlining on 390, and now it has alleviated some of the traffic on 77. So, just traffic talk. That's about it. And I did tour the school traffic over at North Bay Haven, also some stormwater issues. We talked about that at the pre-meeting. I don't have much other to report than to thank everyone for being here. We appreciate all your opinions. We appreciate the people who care enough to come to meetings. So thank you. That's my report.
I don't have a whole lot. I'll just go over what I did at the last pre-commission meeting. I brought up about the 3 appropriations that was approved this past fiscal year for that passed the Senate and the House, got to the governor's office, and out of the 3 appropriations, 2 of the 3 was vetoed by the governor's office, and we were the only city that happened to. So I'm trying to work on reestablishing that relationship so that next fiscal year that doesn't happen, because that hurts a lot. It was money we could really utilize. In fact, the one that did get approved, which was for the fire truck, found out that we weren't even supposed to get that one. So luckily we got that one. So I already sat down. I've talked to Representative Griffiths, had a great conversation with him. And tomorrow I get to sit down and talk with Senator Trumbull and trying to come up with a game plan of how to reestablish that relationship with the governor's office. So that's what I've been working on. But I appreciate everybody coming out, providing your inputs. Appreciate it. Thank you.
And Commissioner Tender.
Thank you. I have a few things. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is the warrant list and a payment on there. But let me say what I have to say about the other things. I think that the city of Lynn Haven, I think we need to fight to take us where we need to be. And honesty and transparency is the biggest ticket. We have to be honest. I personally would like for us, and we've done it in the past, I'd like for us to look at hiring an in-house attorney, pay him $80,000, $90,000 a year, save a few thousand, They would be there for everybody's benefit that works here. They would have an office here. That's one thing. The other thing is I would like to see an in-house engineer to do what they are capable of doing. And if they are not capable of doing it, put them in charge of hiring the people that they need to hire in order to do it. But keep it under this roof, because I feel like funds are just slipping through every crack we have. One thing that I was absolutely shocked about, and it could be me, so if it's me, I apologize up front. I was always under the impression that the $35,000 a day cap for the city manager was just that. Do you all feel differently, or do you realize that's not $35,000 a day?
I thought that was $35,000 per purchase. I got that right? Yeah.
So they can purchase as much as they want, as long as they don't spend over $35,000.
Commissioner Tender, the policy is from $0 to $3,500, does not require any quotes, and that is at the department head level. From $3,500 to $35,000 requires 3 quotes, and that goes from department head to assistant city manager. And then from $35,000 and over, it has to either go out to bid or RFP or be under a state contract.
But is it true that you can do as many of those as you want in any given day for 50 different vendors and spend $35,000?
It has to be within the budget, yes. But yes, if there's 10 $35,000 purchases for the day, then yes.
Wow, okay.
I don't mean to cut you off, but
No, go ahead.
I have more to say in that when we talk about the city clerk.
Okay. Those are a couple of things. The other thing that I would, even though we're short on cash, when we have it, I would love to see us put back in at this entrance back here a metal detector like we used to have in the old building. That's for safety, and we lost it in the hurricane. I don't know how much it was, but it seems like one of those little things that safety should come first. And that's another thing I wanted to say. Can I ask Kiki about a warrant item so I can talk about this last item?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, you have on the warrant list a payment of $102,442.50 to Green South Solutions sludge removal. Can you explain what that is?
On the checklist that's in your packet, I see $43,000 to Green South. Is that what you're?
No, I've got one for 102.
You may be referring to the expansive warrant list that you send out to us.
Oh, that I sent out earlier in the week. Those are 4 sledge removal projects, yes.
Okay. Now,
Commissioner Tender, that's the monthly sludge hauling from the wastewater treatment plant.
okay. Now, I wasn't here when this obviously took place, but I think you know about this. Can you tell me about I had residents calling me about this, going, these semis are driving up and down Tennessee Avenue. They're making me crazy. I wasn't on the commission at the time. I had no idea what they were talking about. And this took place, I guess, like the first of the year in January. Can you explain what that was?
Green South Solutions is the sludge hauler that we have to remove sludge from the wastewater treatment plant. At the beginning of the year, we cleaned out the digesters, we cleaned out the ponds, so they were pulling probably 15 to 30 loads a day from the wastewater treatment plant, going down 5th Street, Tennessee Avenue, and 12th Street. And then Green South Solutions, they continue to haul about 4 days a week for us from the wastewater plant, removing sludge.
They still do?
Yes, ma'am. We have to remove sludge for the wastewater treatment plant.
Sludge is a full-time job.
Yeah. Did we ever, was that a formal thing that came up before the commission?
Yes, ma'am. It was bid out. I think the contract, the first renewal, it expires in May of 2026, I believe it is. but it's the first part of 2026 that the contract is back up for renewal.
That's when we went from, I don't remember what it's called before, we went from regular sludge removal to the cake, dry cake, is that?
Somewhat, but the bid was for liquid sludge removal, and we've done 2 contract addendums to add the cake sludge and add the belt press.
And I don't mean to be offensive at all, but I would love to see the contracts on that or the bidding on it, and whenever it took place. I guess like the first of the year, somewhere around that.
It was a while back. I believe you were on the commission the last time it was approved, but we'll get you the contract and the RFQ.
Okay, I wasn't in 24.
No, it wasn't. It was, I think, in 23 when it was.
Oh, 23.
Yes, ma'am.
Interesting. Okay, well, I appreciate that. And I'll wait with my other question when you do the warrant list. And I think everybody has done a great job on the schedule for the funds and all of that. And I think we can do it. I just think we have to be smart about how we do it. And I think we have to cut back where we can cut back, even if it's for a short time, to get everything standing straight up again. But thank you. That's my report.
All right, thank you, Commissioners. Interim City Manager.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. So as we talked about Friday, for the budget, the HMGP Fire Department project has officially been green lighted for construction. So we will be getting all of the paperwork from the state to bid out the fire department hardening room that was one of our HMGP projects. We also received an ineligibility letter for the 11th Street HMGP project. FEMA will not fund the construction on that one, so we will have to bring it back before the commission for funding opportunities in the future, whether it's some grants we apply for or incorporate it into our budget. Staff built a beach volleyball court that will be opening very soon. We will be doing some communications releases on that. It's out next to the pickleball court at the sports complex. I think we're going to get a lot of positive feedback and a lot of use out of that. Porter Park Toy Library, Lynn Haven Girl Scout Troop 1015 will be unveiling their Silver Award Project, which is a toy library at Porter Park Beach on Saturday, September 6th at 11 a.m. So looking forward to that toy library being in use and all the kids being able to use that down there at Porter Park. We also did receive some news from the health department where they received additional funding from the state. So they will be adding Porter Park to their beach samples. So we will be able to see water quality reports that will go from March 1st to October 3rd, and it will be every other Monday starting then. And then the splash pad will be open on Labor Day, and then it will continue to the weekend only openings until it closes in October. And Ms. McElroy, we did send you this afternoon the invoices from Culpeper, and we will get you the other stuff that you requested. Oh, Mayor.
All right, we did have, going back to public commentary, I know we've talked about Florida Doge before, but if you could provide an update for that, for citizens' requests and regarding sort of comments were made in regards to where's our status with Florida Doge. So if we could provide that information again.
Yes, sir. We received the initial Doge request that was sent out statewide from the governor's office several months back. Staff worked to get that submitted, and accounting and Ms. Marsh and the accounting department submitted everything back to the office. We received a second request probably about 45 to 50 days ago, and she was able to get all of those documents and provide the second response. We have not heard anything back from that.
All right, thank you. City Attorney?
Oh, I'm sorry, the finance update, sorry.
Any questions for Ms. Roman?
I have one, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
The $50,000 for contractual services for communications department.
Again, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't see it on this list. Was that what I emailed you earlier in the week?
Yeah.
Commissioner
Can you tell me the
that was
vendor?
the fireworks invoice.
Oh, that was the fireworks
Yes, ma'am.
invoice.
Does it say pyro next to it? Then yes, that would be the fireworks.
I don't think it did, but that's okay. I'll look it up again.
I will mention to you that in your packet are a number of new reports that you have never seen before. I mentioned to you that we're going to be developing those over time. Mayor specifically asked for the enterprise information that I've included. I gave you enterprise information for just July and then the year-to-date from October 1 through the end of July. I know that they can be daunting. There's a lot of numbers there. Please I won't take up your time tonight, but if you have questions, please, I'm happy to answer any and all questions for you. Again, I'm going to be taking these to the Finance Review Committee tomorrow to review for their input, to see if they feel that these are worthy documents or if we could change them in any way to be helpful to you. And I am continuing to work on the budget, so what was discussed on Friday is no longer current.
Have the state numbers come back yet?
They have not.
Of course. All right, thanks.
Any other questions regarding the finance report?
Thank you for everything you do. Appreciate it.
Yes, and thank you for providing that additional information, because I know we see the expenses, but then also seeing the income side of what we're receiving as well. I think is helpful for us. I know at times we've gotten updates from like the building department, sort of seeing what we've earned or how many permits we received and requests we received for that month. But just seeing the overall scope of what our income is, I think is that is helpful for us also. So thank you.
You're most welcome. As I said, it is my goal to give you information that will help you make your decisions. So you just need to let me know what is helpful and what is not.
All right. City Attorney?
I have no report.
Can I ask a question? Did you happen to find anything out about the audit company contract?
I did. There's not a termination for convenience in the contract, but in your bid documents for this, it did say that one of the terms of the contract would be that it could be terminated for convenience by either party with 30 days notice. So with regard to that specific inquiry, I think you do have that right, even though it's not within the four corners of this document. The second piece I want to recount is that it contains the renewal language you see, which is allowed by the audit procurement statute. You can renew an audit contract that has been competitively bid if it contains that renewal language. While I haven't reviewed the original audit letter that was awarded immediately after that bid, I suspect it was materially similar to this and contained that same renewal language. So it is a lawful renewal according to the statute and according to its own terms. There is, I think you have a very credible right to terminate it with 30 days if you would like to for convenience, even though it's not within the four corners.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the city attorney? All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Approval of minutes 8/12/25. Approval to declare asset 3589 and 3689 surplus and authorize staff to auction off on govdeals.com, and approval to change the term public hearing fiscal year 25-26 budget time on September 9th, 2025 from 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Commissioner Perno. Mr. Lightfoot, if you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Old business, this is for discussion options for the search of a new city manager. I believe as of Friday afternoon, all of us have had a chance to talk with HR and give our input regarding the search for a new city manager. So at this time, we'll receive updates from the city attorney and HR as needed.
Sure. So you have in front of you a job description based on your individual meetings with Mr. Holton. He has compiled this job description, which we think is a fair representation of both the criteria, salary range, experience, and education requirements that you deemed most important. as the city moves forward. What ideally, I'd like to see you approve this, or at least give your feedback on this document. The salary range is on the very top of page 1, and specifically the education and experience criteria are on the very last page, page 3. So if you focus on nothing else, if you'd like to bless this job description, if you feel inclined to bless this job description, whether it's tonight or at your next meeting, the next question, once it is blessed in final form, is to confirm, will staff conduct the search internally, or is there an appetite to go externally? We are proceeding on the assumption that we will move quickly internally, and once this job description is approved, that we will post it immediately on all the available resources to the city to get the word out for a period of 30 to 60 days, which again is up to you to decide how long you want. At that point, staff recommends the creation of an evaluation committee consisting of Mr. Holton, myself, maybe 2 other city directors, to evaluate all of the applications that are received to confirm their consistency with the requirements you have set, and then submit them to y'all to shortlist and direct us to set up interviews. Ultimately, the interviews and selection have to come from y'all, but staff can do some of the heavy lifting before we get there.
All right. So in regards to adopting this job description, whether we do it this meeting or next meeting, we would certainly need to have, I would say, a formal approval for it so that we could, vote on it and go on record and saying that we've all, by majority have agreed that this is the job description that we want for the city of Lynn Haven, versus just maybe by consensus as we've done some other things. All right. Well, let's discuss it.
I think the HR director did an excellent job with this job description. Pretty much everything I talked about is encapsulated. It was one-on-one meetings, so I can't speak for all of you, but what I brought up is encapsulated here. So I am a big fan of this.
Yeah, I think he captured all the things that I mentioned as well, and really narrowed down, as well as made a broad description of what we, what we'll be looking for in a city manager. So, Commissioner Perno?
From my one-on-one, it lists everything. I think we need to make sure, I'm not ready to vote on it right now, but we need to take a hard look at it and do a little second run soul searching. I really like the gentleman that stood up at public commentary. I appreciate your years of experience and what you brought up here. It was very eye-opening, and I think you've fought this fight before. So it was nice to hear from you. I appreciate it. So I appreciate that anybody that cares, to what we're undertaking is a very serious thing. So I'm good with it for now, but we need to finalize, and I'm sure there'll be 1 or 2 little minor things we can add. So thank you.
All right, Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, I'd like to have time to review it. Of course, we got this tonight, and from the quick read I've had, yeah, I like it so far. And then same thing, I had quite a long conversation with the HR director, and he took all my inputs, and I thought he did a really good job in trying to encapsulate everything.
He's a sharp dude himself, John. I really enjoyed talking to him. So. He's a Seminole fan, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
We didn't have to know that.
I don't watch baseball.
I spent a good 10 minutes talking about football with him.
But yeah, I'm like just have some time to review it.
All right, and Commissioner Tender.
I feel the same way. I really enjoyed my conversation, and of course, I would be remiss if I didn't say I don't think starting at 140,000 is necessarily where we have to begin. Again, in the situation that we're in financially, I think we should think low, build up, instead of starting between 140 and 185 annually. But that's the only thing I would have to say.
Okay. All right. I too appreciate the comments Mr. Tucker made in regards to the external job search firm. Very valid points and something we should consider as we move forward in making our approval on the next steps for this. So let's bring this back to our next agenda on September the 9th as a approval item for this. I think 2 weeks to give us time to really go over it and follow it with Mr. Holton if you have any additional questions for him or any additional input. So follow it with him and also with city attorney if we have any additional questions about what's in this job description.
I would recommend that if you have any inclination at all to use an external firm, that you speak up now so that also, again, when we come back at this next meeting, we can either provide you quotes so that you can say yes to a firm if you want to do an external firm to do that, or if you are not interested in that, to say so now so that that's not an additional effort and additional time to gather information and come back for more action.
I guess one of the questions as it relates to an external firm would be, what budget are we looking to spend on searching for a new city manager? Because whether we go internally or externally, we're spending something. So I guess that would be one of the questions is, what budget are we wanting to look at in regards to recruiting a new city manager?
I had included $50,000 in the document that we discussed on Friday.
Okay.
If we don't use it, that's fine. I can take it back out of the budget if you make a different decision.
So we do, based on what we have, if we approve that budget as is, then we would have enough to use an external firm already in the budget. So
Do we have a ballpark on how much it would cost to use internal sources to go national? Like, I'm sure that Indeed, ZipRecruiter, all that stuff, that costs money. So do we have a ballpark number on that?
We have agreements with those contacts that are already paid for. Is that not correct?
I'll step in here. We will have additional expenses for some specialized advertisement locations. Those usually run $200 to $400 a month. And then you potentially should budget for some travel expenses to bring in applicants who are out of the area. So I would guess you need to at least budget $10,000.
Mr.
Looking at a
Turner,
difference of like 40.
when you said speak up now, I mean, are we? I thought our trend was that we were going to try to do the reach ourselves and then look possibly, look at an outside firm.
I would just like to confirm that's still the case. The worst case scenario for me is that we get to this next meeting in 2 weeks, you approve this job description, and then you're looking, suddenly there's a desire to, let's hire the external firm. Where are the numbers? Have we started that procurement? And you're looking at staff who has not done that, and we're going to delay your search by another 30 days in order to do so. I'm just trying to get ahead of that and confirm for myself and for staff that which direction we're going to go.
So it sounds like to me, if I understand it right, that we're already budgeted for it if we use an external firm. So, okay. So we should be good if
Figure on that.
if we decided to do that.
Well, I guess technically we're not budgeted for it because the budget hasn't been approved yet. So if you want a 4.5 millage rate, sure. But if we want to make budget cuts, this is one area we can look at.
Right. I think you got a budget for it either way. If we decide to go with the initial plan that we talked about, where we try to use the avenues we have now, see what kind of response get, and if we don't get the responses we expect, then we can look for the external companies that we talked about before.
It's built into the budget right now.
Right.
So we agree to go the way we're going. So
okay,
as long she just wants to make sure we're all still shaking our heads, agreeing where we're going. So
That is correct. I'd like to confirm the intent to use staff internally to do the search.
I prefer an external firm. However, I'll go, I know we've talked about that, and I'm not against using our internal resources. I think we have great resources that can accomplish, what we're trying to do, but I do prefer an external firm for this search. However, I'm not against internal, so.
Great.
I have to agree with the mayor on this one.
Wow.
I know, there we go.
All right, thank you for that feedback.
All right. So yeah, let's a couple of weeks be ready to come back in and move forward with this job description. Thank everyone for their input, and again, thank you to staff, city attorney for working hard to get this to us in a timely manner. At this time, we're going to have our discussion of forensic audit, scope of work, and committee. Commissioner Tender, city attorney.
I'll let Ms. Tender lead.
I definitely think it's very much in need. I would like to see, even if we just start with 2024, do 1 year, and look at the purchasing procedures, and look and see. I think we just have to dissect it to see what's happening. And if we don't find anything and a firm says, oh, you're just hunky-dory, then I think we have to believe them.
I know, I think it was Friday when we discussed this, Mr. Lightfoot asked some questions. I don't know if we got any definitive ideas on the scope itself, but were there particular areas or particular dollar amounts that you wanted to look over, or particular departments you wanted to start with?
Well, obviously, I was very confused. Call me naive, but I had no idea that we had approved $35,000 per vendor per incident every single day. Oh my Lord, what could possibly happen with that? I mean, it's unlimited. It's unlimited if we continue that. I was just dumbfounded when I heard that. I just feel like we need to look at purchasing policies and procedures for 1 year, just that, and just see what we've got. Are we doing the paperwork? Or is somebody just picking up the phone and saying, okay, I know this is 70,000, but we'll cut it in half, do 35 today and we'll do 35 tomorrow? Or what's going on there? It just seems like we need a more clear cut of how the money is being spent, and maybe we wouldn't be here today. Maybe we would, but I just think we need to look at it and see. And I also still believe that when new commissioners are hired on, I think we owe that to new commissioners to make sure the books are good,
Commissioner Tender, just so that staff can work with an audit firm to prepare a quote for you all to look at. Fiscal year 2024 with purchases of $35,000 and above is kind of the threshold you're looking for the entire fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to put anything that was $35,000 and above that did not come to the commission, or if it was $35,000 and above and it came to the commission, just exclude that, and that will help expedite the audit as well as the pricing?
I definitely think that we need to know what is coming to the commission and what is not. I know in the recent past, we've voted to let the mayor sign certain things if it's in the, the minutes and whatnot. But I think, again, I'm dumbfounded by that whole thing. So I just think we should be looking at it very close and tightening, and maybe tightening the belt. Maybe there's nothing to tighten. I just think it's an enormous amount of money that a city manager is responsible for.
So in most purchasing policies, $35,000 is a common threshold for most municipalities. I think that's the states as well.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the counties is $100,000. Panama City's, I think, was $100,000. They may have lowered it, but $35,000 is the norm for most municipalities. But we can work with our audit company and get a proposal for $35,000 and up purchases of fiscal year 2024 for a forensic audit, and then we can bring those pricing back to the commission. And if it's outrageous, we can narrow the scope down to tighten up the budget, or you all can approve it as is.
Sure, and I trust our finance director. If you know of anything we should be looking at, that I'm not a numbers person. We all know that.
20, when I first hired on, you had asked for a special audit back then, and that was one of my very first tasks when I got here. That audit cost $48,000, and that was in 2020. So I would assume that that number would be greater now. I don't know how much greater, and I have not budgeted for this. So we're going to move forward with an audit, and I have no hesitancy to fulfill your request, but I'm going to have to add money to the budget for it.
Now, do you recall what the scope of work was for that audit?
It was pretty wide. No, to be perfectly blunt, I don't recall what the parameters were. All I remember is them sending requests and me fulfilling the requests. And I don't believe that I was involved with the selection of that happened before I got here. You had already selected the company. It was Platt Moran. They had
Out of
already,
Michigan?
Yes.
Out of Michigan, we hired somebody, and they came down here during COVID, and it was my understanding they were here 2 days, and then they went home, and we supposedly sent them everything.
That is standard practice in today's auditing world. I was emailing all sorts of documents. Our current auditors who do the annual audit, most of our work is done remotely. So just because they're not in the building doesn't mean that they're not doing their work.
Right.
I have access to portals that I upload information to, and it's a different world than it was a few decades ago in auditing.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I would like to add that it sounds to me like the main thing you want to look at is procurement. So if we're going to do this audit, it would only make sense to add in that scope to review our procurement policy. Because if they're experts on procurement, they'd know if our policy is good or not. So I think the true issue, well, issue is the wrong word. The true thing I think that by me listening to you, that you're worried about is the procurement happening and how it's happening. So without a solid policy, things could have been done 100% fine, but it doesn't make it the right method. So I think the true thing we need, or the number one thing I think you're getting at, is we need to ensure that the policy's good. And if once the policy's good, then from here on out, we can ensure that it's done the right way. I think it's more important to figure out the strong policy now and move forward than it is to go backwards and figure out, I mean, all that is important, but it's not as important as what we do from today forward. So I think ultimately, if we're going to do an audit, we need to, the core I think should be the procurement policy, and then secondary should be the dollar amounts, if you will.
Understand, we do have a draft policy that the interim city manager, the assistant city manager, myself, and the assistant finance director are reviewing. It is a pretty substantial change from the current document. We've identified some areas that we know for sure need to be changed. We're all making our audits, or our adjustments and recommendations, I should say. We have not completed those yet. It is a very high priority for me. I want to make sure that that policy is updated and we've addressed areas that we can improve on.
So that was kind of the direction I was going to go is, yeah, there's a lot of things that we need to improve on as far as policy and procedures. And then, I brought this up before for other things. So I guess what I'd like to ask is, what is your goal in the audit? Is that your goal is to?
I like what Commissioner Peoples just said. Right. Let's do it in procurement and make sure, But if you guys are already studying this, and I assume you're going to bring that to the commission as well. Right.
Because that's why I ask, because I'm not necessarily against an audit, but I hate to spend the money on the audit, and it's like, what did you get out of it? Mm-hmm. So that's why I was trying to figure out is what's the goal, because if I understand correctly, if the goal is to make sure our policy and procedures are up to snuff, and making sure they're being followed, it might be better to go a different direction and focusing on those things as opposed to, because what happened in the past happened. We can't change that.
Right.
You know? So I guess that's kind of where I was going with it.
Yeah, maybe we could use those funds to hire a procurement professional. Not like full-time, but to maybe come in, take a second, an expert to look at the new policy that they are creating.
Right.
That's the main goal.
So are we doing a quote or not?
Staff will work to bring a proposal back to the commission, and then once you have a number in front of you, the commission can make a decision on whether to move forward.
Can I make a suggestion that I think Commissioner Tender would probably want to do this too? I know you were talking about the scope, like, you know, the threshold and whatnot. I think we need to look at the split invoices too and what they add up to, because several times there's invoices that are
Yep.
2 or 3 invoices, but they could have been one invoice, you know.
Right.
So
So are you getting a quote from our current audit agency? Or are you getting it from a different audit agency?
So we can get multiple quotes. Again, if it's over $35,000 per our policy, though, we would have to go out to bid or RFQ.
Okay, thanks.
All right, discussion regarding establishing a city clerk position, reporting to the city commission with a view to separating the city clerk duties from the office of the city manager. As I mentioned on Friday, we've had several citizens mention that this would be a time for us to consider this, since we're in the process of hiring a new city manager, that we review those particular duties and then go back and review what that will look like in regards to hiring a city clerk. So we have asked our city attorney to look at this from the charter perspective, to give us some input on if this is something the commission wanted to do, sort of a procedure forward. I know one question was, could we temporarily hire a city clerk while the charter would be under review and possibly put on another, made as a referendum, or would we have to wait until we actually approve until the citizens approve the referendum, or in order to hire a city clerk at that particular time?
I think if you want the city clerk to report to you, you need to have the charter changed and approved at referendum before you hire that position. I just feel like it would be inconsistent with your charter to hire a city clerk, which you can absolutely create a city clerk position, but until your charter is changed, that position will report to the city manager. There's no way around your charter until it gets changed. In terms of the process, you absolutely can change your charter. You can initiate that amendment to create a city clerk position that reports to you with duties to be assigned by the commission. Make it clear that that position reports to and is hired and fired by, and only by, the majority of the commission. There are several provisions of your city code that do need to be changed to clear that up, and we can do that again contemporaneously while it is being set for an election, or after the fact. We can clean that up either way. I'm not concerned about that. But procedurally, if you want to make the charter change, yes, we would do an ordinance. We'd present an ordinance to you that creates that new charter provision for you to approve. It would be subject to approval of the voters at a referendum. Speaking with the supervisor of elections, once we adopt that ordinance and create a ballot question, she needs 8 to 10 weeks to set an election for that purpose. You can do a standalone election. The next election that is on her docket is Municipal Super Tuesday in 2026. You can also choose to wait until then. If you want to do it sooner, you potentially could do it as early as January.
All right, thank you. Is there any further discussion from the commission on this?
I don't think how much is an election? Does somebody know how much we have to pay for that, right?
It's approximately $20,000.
If you team up with an election that's already going to happen, not a municipal election, but another election that's happening, does that cost extra?
I got the impression the cost would be the same whether it was a standalone or a tag-on.
Okay.
I have a question. Do we even have a description of the position? What we would expect, how it would work?
You do not, and that would be up to you if you want to move forward with the city clerk position. I would keep it rather vague for the charter because what you want in a city clerk may change over time. Right out of the box, you might want someone who's real strong in finance, and that's a job description you can compile. It doesn't actually need to be in the charter. It can. I recommend it not be, because if the next city clerk you want is someone who's very strong in parliamentary procedure and public records management, you can still do that by changing the job description without having to change the charter.
All right, any other questions, discussion?
How are we leaning? Is that something we get kind of consensus if we even need to get the staff to start looking into that?
I would think we need to come to an agreement and then start preparing everything. And I think it would take time enough to where, we would want to get it on and I don't think we'd want to do a one-day election for one thing in the city of Lynn Haven.
No.
Get a turnout that would be a pittance of what you would need to a sample of the public that you wouldn't get. You need to get them to the polls for something else as well. And then we need to really look at what it would cost beforehand. But I think it's something that we need to bounce around and come and get a definition of if we're all in agreement that we want the position.
Now, this is something that we would want to put in front of the Charter Review Committee, right?
Most definitely. They have to have his input. Well, I like that. We're going to want their input for sure.
I don't believe you have a current charter review committee, and reading the definition, it looks like it dissolved upon its last effort, so you would have to restand and reappoint that committee if you want.
How many years out are we from the last time it was formed?
5, and that was going to be one of my questions. I think I asked Amy that question.
We were supposed to redo it every 5 years.
Right. So with the 5, I didn't know if it was from the initial when it was in 2021 or from actually when it dissolved in 2023, how that 5.
So your charter and your policy say two different things. Your charter says that your charter should be reviewed every 5 years. That doesn't create a mandate for how often a charter review committee meets. So again, you may have the charter review committee consider this charter amendment. You don't have to.
Got it. Okay.
So it has to be done by ordinance.
It does have to be done by ordinance.
It doesn't have to go to the Charter Review Committee.
That's correct.
Okay.
Can
I make a motion? I make a motion that we add the city clerk position in the charter to be under the commission, and it be at whatever election that we can either tag up with or whatever our next election is, not like what we were talking about earlier where you have just a single election just for the single item. That'd be my motion.
All right. There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's crucial that this position do what we need it to do. Number one, it needs to be a positive. It needs to be something that's going to take us where we want to go. And I think that's absolutely crucial, or we're just wasting money.
And
we don't have that to waste.
One thing I was going to talk about, I can't remember what it was you brought up before. I don't know if it was, there was something that they were talking about with financials and stuff. And one of the things you can set up, Panama City is a good one to look at, is when it has to go through the city clerk to verify the funds are available in those funds, and they have to verify certain things. So that's your checks and balance before it even comes to the commission. So.
All right. Any discussion from the public? All right, let's start here. Let's go row by row. Mr. Walker. Then we'll come to Mr. Langford.
Like I said before, it's a long time coming. Looking for the city clerk for checks and balances. That's true. You already have a deputy city clerk. You do. was in the charter update, and it's there. However, it deals with these options here, is your city clerk right now, city manager. That's there. Why are you going to establish a clerk if you already have it? Why don't you just take what you have here from your former HR director, assistant city manager, assistant clerk, assistant city manager over there. You got 3 people in that office. You got 3 options here mentioned. What about the third? You got 2 options. What about the third option? Third option is to put Mr. Lightfoot, no disrespect, put Mr. Lightfoot back to where he belongs, activate your assistant city manager, and then, according to what says here, there's no charge here. You're not going to waste any money. You're not going to waste any money here either. They're already there. Use them. Then go to your charter and do it correctly. Referendum. Twice you did it incorrectly. And the people get a chance to say what you want to do. And I agree. When you go for a city clerk, you better outline, particularly like Mr. Commissioner Jamie said, he gave you the diagram of what a city clerk should do, how it's done. You have to be very careful here, because you're separating the powers, responsibilities of the city manager, finally, in the charter, officially saying you have a clerk responsible to the commissioners, you have a city manager responsible to the employees. That's it. I think you should take a good look at your chain of how you want to do this. Again, with your search for your city manager, do it like you did before.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Langford.
What came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't think y'all can solve this HR debacle with the city manager until you figure out whether or not you're going to have a city clerk. That was a great discussion y'all had, but I wish y'all would have had the discussion about the city clerk before we got to the hiring the city manager. I'd be curious to look at that position description that this fella came up with. I'm assuming a lot of those duties that are in that position description would be fulfilled by the city clerk. So kind of the tail's wagging the dog here. Finally, we got some good advice over here from the attorney as to what to do. I think she said, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do it by ordinance, but by the charter, the clerk can't report directly to the commission. They have to report to the city manager. Is that what you said? Yes? Well, the motion.
No, my motion was to have it under the commission.
No, that was the motion, but the charter says something different. So
Right.
until the election happens. So we're going to hire a city manager before we hire a city clerk, because the election cycle is going to come after that process. So here's what I'm saying is that it seems like the path of least resistance is to go by ordinance. They have to report to the city manager for now until that election occurs. So you just might want to consider that. I don't like it either, but in that you would change the whistleblower policy as well, to where that individual could come directly to the commission. They wouldn't have to go to the city manager. So there's ways to sidestep some of these landmines without speeding and having them, or rather having us violate. In other words, you could hire a city clerk immediately through the way that she said, albeit you're going to have them report directly to the city manager until that election process happens, where that charter change can be on the ballot. You see what I'm saying? So I'm all for a city clerk, just so everybody's on the same page. But I'm just saying that if you hire a city manager under the current position description, you're going to have to pay that individual what's in the contract, and then we're going to turn around and remove a portion of those responsibilities, and that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So you got to solve both of these problems at the same time, and I think there's a way to do it without speeding with regards to the charter. But you guys are just going to have to be careful as to what that looks like. That's all. Appreciate it.
So can I ask a question for clarity? We don't have a deputy city clerk, correct? So you fill the role as a city clerk?
I'm deputy city clerk, yes, sir.
You're deputy city clerk?
Yes, sir.
And the other thing that was brought up was, this was brought up before. This was brought up in December last year. Could have been voted on back in April. We could have a city clerk right now. So it was talked about before.
I think the issue back in December is that we could not agree whether or not it should go to the Charter Review Committee to get their input on that particular position. So that was part of the part of the dispute on that particular agenda item, was whether or not this should go back to the Charter Review Committee to get their input on this particular position, since it was a charter change coming up for the referendum. Would you like to, is there any response you need to make to what Mr. Langford said in regards to the process? Is he pretty accurate in describing the process that you described?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I want to make it clear, my recommendation is that you not hire a city clerk right now, that you not hire a city clerk, that you intend to report to you before the referendum has passed and approved that charter change.
I do recall we prioritized what we were going to put on the ballot when we did the surveys on the ballot. And I know that a couple of us were wanting to put the question forward to the public about the city clerk, but it didn't make the cut as far as I remember bringing that up.
Mr. Finch. And then we'll come to Mr. Bashir. Did you want to say anything, Mr. Switzer? You're good? Okay, then we'll go to Mr. Bashir. Yes, sir.
I think the problem is we hadn't had a capable city manager. You know, we've had two. The last two's not been a good pick. The policeman, the sheriff arrested one of them, for domestic violence, and it took half the town 2 or 3 years to get the other one removed from office. Because when somebody does something wrong, you get rid of them, and y'all hadn't been doing that. And the problem is the city manager, if he does the right job, he can lead this city where you got to have the right leader. The paper mill out there had one manager, one assistant manager, $4,000 a minute to run the place. 20 years, one guy did it out there. 30 years, Jack Prescott. But I'm telling you, the audit is what y'all need. Y'all keep bumping it down the road. I promise to pay for it. If y'all would use Mr. Moody that y'all the city had hired. I've never done any business with Mr. Moody, but I know he's an honest guy. And I would pay for it, free. But I would negotiate with him, and I'd get a price, how much he was going to charge, a guaranteed maximum price. I don't want y'all to negotiate that price for me, because hell, it'd be 4 times as much. But I will pay for it and get it done. And what an audit will do, it'll find out who wrote the checks, how many times they wrote the checks. But this city can last 2 weeks. That's in between commission meetings. $35,000 should be within them 2 weeks, period, till they come to city commission meeting. There's nothing that would stop this city other than not paying the payroll. I wouldn't stay here if I didn't get a payroll for the 2 weeks. But what I'm saying is, if you pay these people on the payroll, you're not going to have a problem in between commission meetings with a $35,000. It should be $35,000, period, to the next commission meeting. If they do it 35 times 1,000, that's fine. That solves that problem. There's nothing going to stop this city. These people that come clean this place up, they're going to give you an invoice, but they want to expect to be paid in 30 days. There's nothing that's going to stop this city for 2 weeks that $35,000 will not take care of. Pat, you can't give all your people in there say, y'all spend $5,000 a day. You go golf in 2 days, you'd be lost all your whole week's pay. But it's the leader is one you got to get. You know, if you're hunting a baseball player, you go get the best one you can get. Somebody that's got a proven record. And you need somebody that is a maintenance type guy. Vicki didn't know anything about maintenance. There's a deal right here on item number 17. Y'all paying $190,000 to clean the ditch by my house. There's Bobby. I offered to do it free, do it myself free, but I was going to have the right to the ditch. You know, it's right beside my house there, and so now you're paying $190,000 for it. So I'll pay for the audit, and what the audit will do for you is find out what bills you paid twice. It'll find out what the contract amount was. And if it went over that contract amount, they're going to find out who signed for every penny it went over that contract amount. I do probably 3 times the volume y'all do, and I have to have audit every year for my bonding capacity. But mine's about $35,000 on $80 million. So, I mean, I'll pay for the audit, and I will sit down, and all I want to do is sit down with Mr. Moody and say, hey, this is what they do. This is what's going on here. That's what they've done the last 3 years. The budget's pretty much the same. How much is it? And he says it's X amount of dollars, then I'll agree to it. If y'all want to do that, I'll do that. But the $35,000 in between commission meetings to take care of all that. There's nothing that, y'all don't think y'all can go to a hardware store or go to United Rental and rent a pump to pump out a ditch without 2 weeks credit? You can do that. That'll solve that problem. Just, they don't get no more than that. That's about as good a procurement as you can get. This is the max within them days. And there's nothing that's going to stop the city that $35,000 10 times a day. I understand they bought a clock for $51,000. Didn't bring it to the commission. I understand that Vicki signed for the audit just to keep going on. Didn't bring it to the commission. That's the problem. That's always been the problem. And so I want to know if y'all interested in the audit or not. Y'all interested in me paying for it?
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Bashir.
I want an audit, whoever pays for it.
All right, Mr. Bashir. Ms. Smith. Thank you.
So, if you're going, Commissioner Warwick and I have talked about a city clerk, and he's known that I'm not for a city clerk, but currently I'm not against having a city clerk. But you need to decide what that city clerk's going to do. If the reason to have a city clerk is so that they can report to the commission on the city manager's activities, you don't need a city clerk. You need an ombudsman, somebody that people within this employee of the city can talk to anonymously, basically, and bring complaints forward that can be discussed and looked at by the commission. If that's your intent behind a city clerk, that would be a better avenue and a lot less expensive for the city. Now, a city clerk, if they're going to offload a significant amount of work for the city manager, sure, that's a good thing to do. But you need to look at your compensation package and your duties for your city manager, as Mr. Langford said, if you're going to do that. So is a city clerk necessary? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not disagreeing that we need or do not need a city clerk. But if the sole purpose of that city clerk is to report the city manager's actions to the city commission, that's not a good use for a city clerk. They need to do city business. And I see no reason why they shouldn't report to the city manager. And that can be done within the current charter without going outside right now. But I'll go back once again. If it's to report to y'all what the city manager is doing, there's a better vehicle to do that than paying a city clerk whatever the salary may be. But offloading the work to the city clerk from the city manager, that is a valid reason to have a city clerk. If we decide that's needed in the city, then go for it. So,
Mayor, may I say something to that?
Yes.
I still don't object to a grievance committee either. I think I had brought that up a long time ago, and it didn't fly. And I think that also is something that if we had a grievance committee, whether it be this commission or whoever it is, that people could be honest and know that they don't have any threat of retribution because of what they're telling. I think that's something that we can look at too, and that doesn't cost anything. Thank you.
Christy McElroy, first of all, I would like somebody to reach out to Mexico Beach, because all they paid for when they had a state audit was for 3 votes. They got a state audit. You want to build credibility with your senator and your state representative? Get a state audit in here. That is the way to do it. 3 votes, that's what it costs. Takes all the complication out of it. Now, as far as the city clerk, we've been saying for a long time, you need a city clerk. City clerk makes sure that, you know, the taxpayers, if they have a public records request, all that's done. Your minutes are done. All of these things are crucial. Document, 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 and where are the documents? That's something else you've had a problem with. Sorry, with a city of this size, you really don't need an assistant city manager. You need a city clerk. You need a good human resource person. You need a city manager. But I want to say something, and we're going to go there, Mayor. You need to look at the average salaries for 2025 for a city manager in the state of Florida. It's like $86,000 to $125,000. Have any of y'all done any research about that? That's not what I see, Sam. And I've got a lot of different. So there again, you know, everybody bring your documents. And so everyone can understand the numbers. $200,000. You know how much the guy in Broward County makes? $500,000. You know what the governor's done? Send it in Doge, because he doesn't understand why Broward County is paying their county administrator $500,000. You don't need any more scrutiny. You don't need it. You need to straighten out your house, and you need to bring the numbers to these meetings and have these discussions publicly. No, you didn't. You brought it up now as I bring it up. That's not what we're asking for, Sam. So, anyway, go ahead, get it all out here, and make sure you're using your money wisely. It's taxpayer dollars. And whether you like it or not, the reason I'm here is because I'm tired of seeing this go over into our counties, other counties.
Thank you.
What happens here happens other places.
Thank you. Anyone else from this side? All right. But you come, Ms. Parker. Yeah, ladies first.
Jerry Parker, Rep Place. I was actually co-chair of the last charter committee, and I fought hard for a city clerk. Of course, it was voted down, and the one thing that really was concerning to me was Vicki Gaynor was at every single meeting we had. She should not have never been there. She directed stuff towards the committee that I think was inappropriate. But I did fight hard for a city clerk. We would not be in the position we are today if we would have hired a city clerk that was separate from the city manager. That needs to be separate. There needs to be accountability. The accountability is when the city clerk is separate from the city manager so that they can oversee all the information they need to see. It's not hidden. I think there's a lot of stuff that's been hidden in this city. And I think it's time that we get back to some normalcy, because we do not have normalcy in this city right now. It is chaos, total chaos. So I'm hoping that if we have a city manager, that we have a city clerk as well. It needs to be done so that there is a separate entity to this whole situation. It's all about accountability and making sure that the city manager and the city clerk are doing different things. Thank you.
$1,000%, you need an independent city clerk. Like Jerry said, I went to the charter meetings, and it was shot down. So this could have been avoided 4 years ago. You need somebody who is going to work with the city manager, but be independent and not be afraid of being fired by the city manager, who reports to you guys. Maybe if this had been implemented years ago, this commission even wouldn't be in this position right now. $5 million might not have been stolen. I mean, I don't know. We don't have a time machine. We can't go back. But if you had somebody, Vicki Gaynor was the deputy city clerk at that point. And you know what? She knew she was going to lose her job, but she went and said everything that was going on if she saw it, right? So you need somebody who can come to the commission and say, look, this isn't right. Not a tattletale, but someone who's there's going to be layers of accountability there. So how much is it worth to you? $5 million, okay, that got stolen? $7 million on the overage on this building. Okay, do the math. That's $12 million right there. I think you need to hire, that should be a priority right there. You know, chicken or the egg, I don't know. But you do need to have a city manager. That has to come first. And then you have to have the referendum. You can't avoid that at this point. But that can all be adjusted later. But I think you need to vote on this today, and I think you need to go along with what Commissioner Work said. What's it worth to you?
This time, Mitch Oakley, still in 1208 Massachusetts. I think sometimes when I'm in a travesty like this, and man, I stop and say, before I do anything, what did I do that was wrong? I came here, I worked out of town most of the time for 20 years, but when I got back and discovered, it sounded like Santa Claus dropped Michael White on us. How did that happen? Where's the notes from that vetting? And when he was already under scrutiny for a felony and separated from the Southern companies, it wasn't real hard to vet him. I did it, just casually. So find out who was in on that hiring process, bar them from being in the room when you do this one. Thank you.
I appreciate you guys taking into consideration what I said earlier, because I mean, I know Kiki and Chris are working on stuff. I know the attorney's been working on stuff. I would like to get a copy of whatever you guys are reviewing. I don't want to wait until they've reviewed it, because by then, if I find more holes, it's kind of too late. So I'd appreciate if somebody would send me a copy of whatever you guys are reviewing, so I don't have to ask for it through public records, because I will if I don't get a copy. Here's my suggestions for the commission. Number one, if you could amend your motion to reestablish the charter committee, it sounds like it's defunct. Bring it back right now, tonight. Tell that committee, whoever you guys appoint, the clerk is going to be item number 1 on that ballot. Ask them if they have other changes. I believe, and I believe Ms. Parker could tell me if I'm correct, but I believe they had additional items they didn't get to bring forth last time because there was a limit of 5. Ask them if there's other things they want to bring on this election if we're already going to be doing it. They could easily meet 3 to 4 times before whenever this next election is. All right, and then you need to figure out as a commission what duties you're going to have this clerk do, because there's overlap. It's been talked about numerous times. And if there's overlap, you can take some duties away from the city commission or city manager role, and you can pay that person less. Maybe you're paying that person $140, you're paying a clerk $75 or $80. And you need to continue to focus on the procurement policy, because the new procurement manager needs to come into an environment that has a solid policy. One thing I would like to see is I would like to see a clerk that reports to the commission being your independent auditor for all procurements. In my industry, we have a compliance department that does not report to the CEO. It reports to the board of directors. They can audit my files anytime they want. And if they find problems, well, I got some business to take care of then. That's what you're looking for in a city clerk, somebody that is your independent auditor, because you are part-time. You're not a full-time commissioner. You don't get paid $80,000 like the county commissioners do, where they can spend the time doing whatever they need to do. One other thing that bothers me being a procurement professional, and I give you a pass, Commissioner Tender, because I know you don't know all of the policy, but it is perfectly normal if something is budgeted to be purchased within whatever the limits are. Focus, when in your policy, focus more on what your review thresholds are, who's reviewing, and when it needs to be reviewed. If it's a budgeted item, there should be a pecking order based on dollar thresholds up to the point of the commission still approving it, even if it's budgeted. I would put in your policy that any purchase that is unbudgeted needs to be approved by the commission, period. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, everybody. So I'll be the first one to tell you I love city clerks. Love them to death. Compliance, accountability, transparency, that's what a clerk brings. Ryan talked about a compliance division in most companies. The company I work for has the same thing. What I'm hearing a lot of is that you guys are trying to put the cart before the horse. You have a lot of wants organizationally, things that you want to accomplish, but not having the proper roles to do them. With Vicky, whether you liked her or not, there was a single point of failure because everything went through one person. You're now trying to separate apart those roles and hire all these people and do all these things, and you're trying to do them so quickly because there is an appetite in the community to do it. But what you're not looking at is long-term strategic planning. Where do you want to be in 2 years? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10? If your goal is at the next election to have a city clerk, what's a city clerk going to do? What roles are going to roll up underneath them? How many positions are you going to take away from the city manager's direct report and you're going to move over here? Is a procurement professional going to be just an auditor, or are they going to be in charge of all your RFPs and RFQs? Do you just want a city clerk and a deputy city clerk? How is all that? Honestly, a clerk can do half of your auditing for you if you really wanted them to. What questions do you want answered by your staff? Who do you want directly reporting to you with those answers, and how do you want them obtained? Until you understand that as a commission, you really can't move forward in any direction. You can't move forward with hiring a city manager. You can't move forward with a city clerk. You can't move forward with any of these positions because they're all going to break up and change. Everything that you are doing right now will be irrelevant in a year if in a year you have the actual structure that I think the city wants. My suggestion would be to move to a workshop. And I know everyone doesn't necessarily like workshops, but I think what you need to do is pull out the biggest whiteboard you've ever had, put a bunch of stuff up on there and go, this is how we want the city to operate. Who can do those roles? Because guess what? I said it before, and I think, Judy, it was when I was talking with you. We can have a city manager at $180,000, $200,000, but we're only getting 40 hours worth of work out of them. Or we could split that position up into 2, maybe 3 positions, and now we're getting 80. We're getting, 240 hours if we really wanted to. Could we hire 4 or 5 people at $60,000 and get 10 times the amount of work than just one position? And that's what you need to look at organizationally.
All right, thank you. Any other public commentary? All right, any further discussion from the commission?
Yeah, I got some. So I think it really stuck out to me about how I do agree with Mr. Bashir's that if we do have a city clerk, it shouldn't only be just simply a full-time executive level person that literally just follows the city manager around, make sure he or she's doing the right thing. I do agree that with, I think it was Mr. Langford, that if there is a city clerk, you would take some of those responsibilities away from the city manager as well. So the city clerk would be serving at the pleasure of the city commission, but also having extra duties as well that we could take away from the city manager. So I do think that it's an important time to talk about if we want a city clerk. I would also like to point out, though, that we're talking about two separate items here. The item that's on the floor here is for adding the item for the next election. That does not mean that if we vote yes on this, that we can't also have a city clerk that works under the city manager in the interim. Just because you voted yes or no on this item doesn't mean it's a yes or no on the other item. These items are mutually exclusive. So so my question is, I guess for Commissioner Wark, is this item that's on the floor just solely to add a city clerk to the ballot on the next election that serves at the pleasure of the commission? Because if that's the case, then that does not mean that we're also saying no to a city clerk in the interim. We can do both things, But I would say if we do have a city clerk solely that serves under the city manager at the time in the interim, then we do need to update the whistleblower policy. Because the way that it reads is that if you have an issue with someone, you go to the city manager. If you have an issue with the city manager, then you go before the attorney or the mayor. I think that's fine, but I think it should also add the commission. Because we want, that would take pressure off of the mayor, that would take the pressure off of the attorney. Because if I'm just one person and they only feel like they're allowed to come to me and I'm the only person making that decision, that's a lot of pressure. If you get 2 people, 2 or 3, 4 or 5 people involved, it's better. We're not always going to agree up here. That's why there's 5 of us voting. But I guess my main point is, in summary, these are 2 separate items here. What Commissioner Wark put on the table, I believe, is separate from if we want to have a city clerk in the interim. And that's a separate discussion. That is an important discussion. I just wanted to point out that those are separate discussions, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing.
Any response from you, Commissioner Ward?
What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. This isn't the first time I brought this up. I brought this up after the Charter Review Committee looked at it, and I brought up the clerk then. I could tell I had no support for it. So I said, all right, I'll wait a couple years, try to get it lined up with the election. Did a really nice presentation, spelled it all out, talk about the balanced triangle and the benefits of having it. Couldn't even get a second. And here we are talking about it for a 3rd time. I'm telling you, this place needs a city clerk. It needs the checks and balances. It's too much power and authority for one person to take that and the city manager. I don't understand why we don't understand that. I just don't.
All right.
Didn't really answer my question.
What do you want me to answer?
This is your item on the table is solely for adding it to the ballot, right?
You have to. You can't add a city clerk under the commission because it has to be done by referendum because it requires a charter change.
I guess let me rephrase that. Your item is not to do this in lieu of having an interim or another city clerk in the meantime.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Perno.
Yeah, I'll ask a question again to Commissioner Wark. We're doing this by ordinance now. We want to put a clerk in on the closest election that will answer to the commission. That we're not forming a clerk position now, correct?
Correct.
But we'll have time to set the parameters of what a clerk should be for us.
Correct.
and then tweak our city manager's search accordingly, since duties will be split, so to speak?
Yeah, I think if we pass this tonight, then we would want to talk with the city attorney and HR about extracting the city clerk or the clerk duties from this particular job description and revising that and sending that out to us prior to the next commission
This will
meeting.
change again. So like we said earlier, just want to make sure that we're gonna focus as they said. And my other question, I know you were adamant about we don't need the charter review committee, but if we're going to look at the charter every 5 years, like they said, we're getting to that 1 year point before. So do we want to bring the charter committee back? You could.
I think with that we could do that in a different resolution because it's just by resolution. So we could bring a resolution next commission meeting, establishing the charter review committee.
Okay, if we do that next commission meeting, again, I'll ask Commissioner Warwick, are you okay with the charter committee being involved with the duties of a clerk and so forth? We're basically we're telling the charter review committee what to do and
Why didn't we have this conversation back in December?
well, we're talking now.
No.
You know,
Why did we not have that conversation back in December?
I was wanting it to get on the ballot in April. I made it one of my
I couldn't
first.
even get a second for it.
We did talk about taking it to the charter review
We
committee.
listed those things by priority, and I wanted one of the priorities I had was the city clerk position. I wanted it to go before the public, and it didn't make the cut as far as what got on with the survey stuff. Yeah, and I'm asking a question to the guy who made the damn motion.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, we're having discussion. Thank you.
I value everything the Charter Review Committee did. They did a lot of work. Revamping a charter after it hasn't been done in many, many years is a very difficult task. But this area, I think, is critical and crucial. Needs to be done.
No, I'm agreeing with where you're going, but we're gonna set the plan for the city clerk. Do you want to form a charter review committee and have them involved as well?
For this item?
Yes.
No.
Are you asking just if they want it on the ballot or if they want to be involved in picking the duties?
We're approaching the time to add the charter to form the charter review committee again. Mm-hmm. Charter review committee is made up of citizens that review the charter and so forth. We're making a decision now that has effect on the charter. So are we going to want to form the charter review committee and have them involved in this process? Maybe vote today, but the charter review committee will have input on maybe the duties of the clerk as we form them. If we say that, we get involved now. You're saying no.
So you're asking is we vote on this tonight, and if we vote yes, then we can have the Charter Review Committee look at the duties? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. As far as being involved with all of us, if you want to be, include them and they're important, and it's coming up on the 5-year mark anyway.
Okay. Well, actually, don't quote me on this, but I think the 5-year mark will be 2028, and then it goes on the 2029 ballot.
And that's what we were asking the city attorney. She said it wasn't clarified as to whether or not it was from the last time they gave us recommendations, or was it from the initial establishment in 2021?
Right.
So
the way I understood it's 5 years, so it goes every 6 years because ours are every odd year.
But they were formed in 5 years ago.
But earlier she mentioned that
4 years ago,
that although the charter itself has to be reviewed every 5 years, we can use a committee in the interim between those 5 years to do that. So yes, we can talk about a charter review for resolution on next commission meeting. I'm for charter review looking at this along with us as well. So we can bring that back by resolution for next commission meeting. And then that would follow with us reappointing each commissioner, reappointing as we did before a particular person, a person for the charter review committee, and then go forward from there.
I just want us all to agree that to include the charter review committee in the process. That's all.
Sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, let's vote on the clerk. However, this is going to evolve and who's going to get involved and all of that. But I'd be happy to, sure, do a charter review.
All right. Mr. Lightfoot, if you call the
Let's just
vote.
vote on it, yeah.
Commissioner Wark?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. All right, quasi judicial public hearing. Before we do that, let's take a 5-minute break. at 7:37 p.m. Now we're on to quasi-judicial public hearing, agenda item number 15, discussion and possible approval of a development order, train storage facility, property located on Aberdeen Loop, parcel number 115-28551-000. City Attorney.
To submit evidence or testimony in this matter, please stand and be sworn. You swear or affirm the testimony you'll give today is the truth and nothing but the truth. Before you get started, Commissioners, I'd like to invite you to give your Jennings disclosures on this matter.
I've had none.
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 Thank you.
You, Harold. Good evening, and thank you. Let's see. Okay, this is a development order application for a train storage facility. The applicant owner is Train US Incorporated, and the location is on Aberdeen Loop, parcel number 11528551000. Property size is 10.92 acres, and the future land use is industrial. It is not located within the CRA, and the existing uses on the site is vacant. The project engineer is Robert Carroll, PE with McNeil Carroll Engineering, who is not present today. However, we do have James Thompson present if you have any questions for him. The project reviewing engineer is Richard Funtner, PE with Dewberry Engineering, who's also present if you have any questions. The applicant owner is requesting development order approval for the construction of a storage facility. It's basically a laydown yard to be constructed in 2 phases. Phase 1 will consist of 265,780 square feet storage area and will be constructed first. When it's decided that Phase 2 will be constructed, it will consist of 209,864 square foot storage area, and another development order will be submitted for Phase 2. The stormwater and landscaping requirements have been met, and the Planning Commission recommended unanimous approval. That's aerial, site plan, and then landscaping was in there as well.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions? No questions. Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Who got it?
I'm going to give it to Ms. Tender. All right, motion by Commissioner Ward, second by Ms. Tender. Comments from the public? Yes, sir. I hope.
Is this considered our second industrial park area? Is it considered in?
No, this is a commerce park.
We only have one industrial park.
Right. Yeah. All right, thank you.
I just had a question for the developers they might be able to answer. It looks like on the plans, you're going to have 2 stormwater ponds on either side, and then the existing creek line is going to have man-made swelling, I believe is what that looked like. My question is have we planned for what happens when we go past the 100-year flood and we get substantial rain, 10 inches, 12 inches, 15, a tropical storm, where we have significant flooding? What does that do for the homes behind it? And how does that change the flow rates essentially at that point? I don't know if they're putting structures on there or if it's just going to be ground land and stuff like that. These issues have popped up in places like Mowat Highlands, where they built Andrews Plantation, and because of the changing in the way that the creek discharges, you now have homes that are getting flooded out. That's a significant creek outflow for all the homes behind it and for a good amount of floodplain behind it as well. So I just want to make sure that the depth of that creek change and the swelling that's going to occur with it is deep enough to handle both the outflow water from that cleared parcel, because there's no more trees, no more absorption, things like that. The trees, obviously, it was a very wooded area. When you have that falling of water captures rain on the leaves and things like that, it slows down that volumetric flow so that you can let the water behind it push forward. I also want to make the commission aware that this was an NRCS project during FEMA's recovery and everything like that after Hurricane Michael. So just make sure that that outflow through that creek matches the scope parameters of that program if you guys are still within that window of requiring maintenance. So that's all.
Was there a response from the developer?
Good evening. Sean McNeil Carroll Engineering. Didn't really understand most of the words he said. Bad to hear back there, sorry. But for the most part, we've meeting the code. We're not increasing any runoff from the development. The creek is not really being impacted. We've met your code. We've also submitted for the ERP with the Water Management District.
Okay.
Any questions?
So from my understanding, it meets the 100-year storm. That's a requirement
Yes,
to
sir.
our Unified Land Development Code.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. Thanks.
Have a good night.
All right. Any additional commentary from the public? All right. Mr. Lightfoot, you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Closing public hearing at 7:44 p.m. and open at 7:37. All right, discussion and possible approval to authorize the mayor to sign Amendment 3 for the Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Program for M0022 West 10th Street Utility Improvements Project.
Mayor, this is one of the Department of Commerce projects we're working on. The notice to proceed was August 4th for the contractor. However, the current end date of the agreement will end prior to the contractor being completed. So this will take us out to September 30th, 2026.
All right. Any questions from the commission? Is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, motion by Commissioner Perno, second by Commissioner Peebles. Comments from the public? Mr. Lightfoot, if you call the roll.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion pass. Agenda item number 17, discussion of possible approval to award the bid and authorize mayor to execute contract for legislative stormwater improvements, Phase 1B, for the amount of $190,288.19.
This is part of our legislative stormwater appropriation we received several years back. We have approximately $223,000 left in the appropriation, minus the engineering and then minus the bids that we can submit for reimbursement. It is recommended to award Outfall 23 to Emerald Coast Site Construction to complete the outfall there on 2nd Street. And there is a photo of that outfall in your packet. It is pretty bad right now. When it backs up, it chokes the stormwater down, and it backs up into 2nd Street and prevents the water from escaping into the outfall.
All right, any questions about this? All right, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, comments from the public? Mr. Lightfoot, you call the roll.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Discussion and possible approval of design option for James E. Rogers Park.
Mayor, this is one we've talked about last couple of budget workshops. It's one of our last park rebuild projects to do. We met with residents a couple years ago to do a design plan. A couple different options are presented to you. One has a pickleball and basketball facility with a playground. Another one just has a basketball and playground facility at the park. A lot of the residents did request pickleball facilities. However, staff does not recommend going with pickleball facilities due to the traffic concerns, the noise, and other issues that it presents because of the location of the park. So just want some direction from the commission on which design to move forward with and to be able to put this project out to bid.
So, since I've been here, easily number top 5 complaint, if not top 3, is always traffic. always traffic. And, you know, the new census data came back, and the greater Bay County area was like the second biggest growing spot in the entire nation. So we have tons and tons of traffic. In normal development orders, we don't really have a lot to say. This is a scenario where we kind of can control if there's going to be extra traffic or not. As much as we love pickleball, we do already provide quite a few courts. And we can't control, well, I'll just say it like this. We cannot guarantee that those pickleball courts will only be used by Lynn Haven citizens.
Correct.
That's my biggest thing. Now, if this was like a county project and we were the county commission, it might be a different discussion, because then we'd be providing services to the entire county. We're providing services to the citizens of Lynn Haven. Now, this park is the closest to Bel Air Estates, but Bel Air Estates citizens are not the only ones that pay taxes to Lynn Haven, and this is being paid out of our budget as a whole. So my opinion is, as much as I love the idea of pickleball courts, I think this is a scenario where we can reduce traffic, and I think it's what we should do.
Mayor, may I add too, in your car as well, this is a 428 project. So there is the option to do nothing at this park and leave it as is until the city can afford to build something there in its place and utilize the 428 money towards the rebuild overall. However, we do get a lot of calls from residents about rebuilding this park. So staff does recommend putting something back here as it is as an option.
Mayor, if I may, has any, do we have any residents from this area? I'd love to hear how you feel about it.
Well, we haven't.
Oh, once they say you can.
Yeah. But yeah, we're going to get to that part because we did ask citizens to come out to give us some response on that. Any further questions for? And really, we have to make the decision, as we talked about Friday, as to whether or not we want to include or not include the pickleball court.
Regardless of how we leave or whatever motion's on the table, tonight we would like direction of rebuild James Rogers Park, and if so, which design, or do not rebuild James Rogers Park and apply for the 428 funding to apply to our debt.
I'll make a motion to rebuild James Rogers Park without the pickleball courts, or the option without the pickleball courts.
All right, motion dies for lack of second. Is there a motion for the design with the pickleball courts? All right.
I'll second his motion without the pickleball courts.
It's already died.
All right, I'll make the motion without the pickleball courts.
I'll second.
All right, so there's a motion without pickleball courts. Discussion from the public.
I guess I could go a lot of different ways, but please don't leave it the way it is. That is a trashy park right now. And in a town where I hear a lot of complaints, I have 4 children, they're all adults now, but in a town that says, well, we need more activities for teenagers and things like that, it would be nice to have something like that for them. I hear a complaint that there's going to be traffic, that it's going to be noisy, but that's not coming from the residents. The residents want it. And like when I get a haircut, I just go onto an app and I sign up and I know when I can be there. I mean, we could do something like that, or just put a sign-up sheet so, people sign up and they know when to come back. So, I mean, it seems kind of like a cop-out to say, oh, there's going to be traffic, because there's ways to manage that pretty simply, especially today with technology and that. But it's a quiet neighborhood. There's original owners. I mean, my home was built in 1967. There's original owners there. Could use some life. So that's my opinion.
Are you for the pickleball court?
I'm for the pickleball court.
And
Both of them.
Do you live close by?
So that's on, coming around, going on to Floyd, and I'm around the corner on Alexander. So it's maybe
A block.
100 yards from, yeah, maybe a block, yeah.
Say something.
You wouldn't come back, would you, and say,
No, I'd be happy with the pickleball.
The reason, well, mine wasn't so much traffic flow, but there's been research done where they've installed pickleball courts next to neighborhoods, and they hate it because of all the noise. It's a distinct sound, and you got to hear it. And if they're playing all day, they got to hear that sound all day long. So, I mean, that's the concern I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that point too.
I appreciate you coming out.
Question. So if we go with the design for no pickleball court, let's say 100 citizens from Bel Air come out after we've built this, is it possible to then later install a pickleball court if there's an influx of requests for that?
Yes, sir. On your screen there to the left of the basketball courts, that space will stay, so we can build pickleball courts in the future. And to reiterate what the resident just said, the residents are for pickleball courts. In every meeting we had, a request was for pickleball courts. It is the staff's recommendation to not build the pickleball courts.
All right.
Do these people that want pickleball courts know that it's going to cost them more money on their taxes? Because it's going to go into our budget, right? We're trying to look on areas we can cut back on our budget because the proposed budget is 4.5 mils. And if we're looking for things we can cut back on, I'm just saying.
A lot of the pickleball, and Mr. Ward, if he's still here, can talk about this, but a lot of the pickleball community is not from Lynn Haven, so they are not too concerned with what taxes Lynn Haven residents are paying to get them additional pickleball courts.
So I think if people who in that neighborhood want pickleball courts and they're going to, really push for that, they need to go stand next to one for about an hour and listen to that and figure out if they want to hear that all day long. Because, I love kids, but I don't want to really be next to a playground where kids are screaming all day long. So I think they need to do a little research. So if you're moving forward with this, it's fine, but just bear in mind, and just because you're voting for this, there's no time frame for this. So you can move forward and just wait until it's a budgeted thing if there's money concerns. So you can get the estimate, or, it has to go out for bids, see what the bids are going to be. I'm assuming it can be readjusted if it's too high, because that does happen. Things do get rebid. So this isn't something that's set in stone, and, maybe it might even be next year before you can move on it. So maybe the money will be there at that time.
Rough estimate on 2 pickleball courts, probably about somewhere between maybe 80,000 and up. Maybe as high as 200,000. See what the bids come back at, right? Like Sam said, we're trying to make cuts. Just cut the pickleball courts. If the people of Bel Air Estates really want pickleball courts, they can form a Friends of James Rogers Park 501c3. They can create a membership. They can do all the work to fundraise. I went out door to door during the campaign period. There's a lot of houses out there. I think it'd be about $250 to $300 per house. They can all pitch in, then they can get some money and they can come to the city and say, hey, we really want the pickleball courts. Here's money. We got a 501c3 that's dedicated to that park specifically and that neighborhood specifically, and they can put forth the effort, And I say that as somebody who's literally been trying to put together various 501c3s to benefit this community. Why? Because I care about it. I live here. So if the people of Bel Air Estates really want this and they know the strings are tight for the city right now, put in a little more work and get some sponsors and some fundraisers going and meet the city halfway. Because in the meantime, you guys can use this money to pay down some of this debt.
May I speak on the budget side of this?
Yes.
This is part of the FEMA scope of work has been approved as of May of this year. We have $1.2 million available in that project. If you determine that you want to build this project, we can use $1.2 million worth of FEMA money for it. However, it will slow down the cash flow. If we use that $1.2 million of a 428 project, I can apply it against the city hall and we can get the money faster. Just a cash flow thing. If you decide not to use the FEMA money for this, it would have to come out of general fund.
I too am concerned about the noise and calls for service in regards to that and the parking with a pickleball court.
For a point of clarification, and I know Kiki, you kind of spoke on it a little bit. The 428 project that we're going to put this through on, is it already obligated, or is it still a grant in progress? Okay, so it would be an amendment to the writing itself, or is it just a general 428?
I'm sorry, I don't remember what the project number is. It is obligated. The scope of work was approved in May. We could present this as soon as the documents are and the bids are accepted. However, we all know FEMA is not the fastest at reimbursement. That was my comment about I can apply those $428 for this project against the City Hall building, so we would see those dollars more quickly than if we use these dollars for the park.
Go ahead.
Any other discussion from the public? All right. Any further discussion from commission?
Yeah, one more thing. So the money that we do not spend on pickleball courts, we could put towards City Hall. Is that correct? Or the money that's been spent?
You can use all or a portion of the 1.2 million for James Rogers.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend up to 1.2 million of FEMA dollars.
Since it's not a, what is it, a
428 project?
Yeah, it's a 428 project. Is it that 1 point, so let's say we don't spend 1.2 on it.
Right.
What happens to the difference of those funds? Can we apply it somewhere else?
We could put that against the City Hall project.
Okay,
yes.
perfect. That was my question. Thanks.
So just for sake of argument, if you only spent $800,000, then you could, on the park, then you could use the balance, the $400,000 against the City Hall.
All right. Lightfoot, you call the roll.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
I'm not even sure what we're voting on anymore, but I'll go with the majority, yes.
Mayor Nelson?
People said they wanted a pickleball court, so I don't know. But yes, motion pass. All right, discussion of possible approval of resolution 2025-08465, extending the City of Lynn Haven's Finance Review Ad Hoc Committee. Mr. Lightfoot, if you read that by title only, please.
A resolution of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Resolution 2024-12-444, expanding the duties of the Finance Review Committee, providing an effective date, and providing for continued existence of the committee.
All right, so we did discuss this on Friday with quick review. Thank you, City Attorney, for making those updates for us from our Friday's discussion regarding the continuing of this committee unless resolution by commission says otherwise. All right, is there a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion from the public. Ms. Lightfoot, you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed. Discussion of possible approval of updating Mr. Lightfoot's compensation to reflect his new duties as interim city manager, city attorney.
As interim city manager, Mr. Lightfoot has taken on additional duties that by law you need to pay him for. There are two ways you may pay him, and two options have been presented to you in your CAR report. Staff's recommendation is that you increase his current annual salary by 20% so that he's at least 5% above the highest paid employee. Staff also recommends you consider providing him a car allowance of $450 a month.
All right. I did have some citizens to ask in regards to the terminology out of class. They wanted, I guess, some feedback on what are we defining as out of class.
Mr. Lightfoot is, or prior was Director of Public Works and Public Utilities. As the interim city manager, he now oversees the entire city, supervises all the employees, supervises all the finances. So by that increased amount of duties, he is no longer just a director of one of our services, but he's over the entire city, and his duties and responsibilities have grown exponentially.
Can I add to that? So I think the key here on the 20% was that it's 5% higher. And I think the attorney can correct me if I'm wrong, but in the federal government, no civilian or federal employee is allowed to make more than the highest ranking federal employee. So what's happening right now, due to his role, is rank inversion essentially. And so, yeah, I mean, this is standard practice. The person that is the highest role has the highest salary. I can confirm that on a different branch of the government in the past as well. It's the same on military bases in the military. The person that is running the highest ranking person, no one can make more than them. I mean, there is some one-offs here and there, but typically that's standard practice.
All right. Any further discussion on this in regards to option 1 or 2?
Nope. Make a motion to approve option 2 of the car allowance.
Is there a second for that?
Could you say option 2 one more time, please?
Motion to approve option 2 with the car allowance.
Sorry. The attorney, can you tell me what option 2 is again?
Sure. Option 2 is to increase Mr. Lightfoot's current annual salary by 20% so that he is at least 5% above the highest paid employee. His salary would increase to $135,580.85.
I'll second.
All right. There's a motion and second. Discussion from the public.
To be clear, we already have money in the budget for a city manager, do we not? Okay. How much of the interim city manager's duties are currently being done as his role as the director, and how much is as city manager? Has it significantly changed? Can we argue that at least 50% of his role has changed over to city manager? Okay. It's fine to pay the man for the job that he's doing. The one thing that I would caution, and I would say, if you guys are going to redraw a contract or change the amount that he's being paid, is that if and when his role changes, if he does go back and you do choose a different person after the interim role is over, that you need a mechanism to put him back into that directorate role with pay. You don't want to continue to pay him at 135 and then you don't have a mechanism to take him back down, and now you are forced to pay a new city manager 5% more than the current highest paid person in the city. That'd be my only discussion. Thank you.
Ms. McElroy.
Okay, so I guess what I'd like to know is what is his total compensation? So you're saying 135,000, right? Just straight pay. And then you throw in car allowance. Then you've got other benefits as well. So you're telling me that with all of that, the next highest employee is close to that compensation?
I would defer to staff on that, but yes, the goal is to get him 5% above the currently highest paid employee.
Who's the next highest?
I am the next highest.
And you
as assistant city manager.
And you make like 90,000, is that correct?
That's not correct.
Okay. Again, y'all are putting yourselves in a box. He is an interim, and he has no experience of being a city manager. Doesn't have 1 year, doesn't have 2 years. So I understand if you want to pair it up with hers, but really, this is taxpayer dollars. And I'm telling you, you're not looking at the data and what an average city manager makes, and one with no experience. He's going to gain a ton of experience. So whether he leaves here and goes someplace else, he can say he pitched hit when everybody needed him, and that makes him more valuable. So there's something to be said about that. Paying parity to her and let it go, because you have not even figured out what his total compensation is. With car allowance, do you get car allowance?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Is it the same amount?
No, it is not.
You better work the numbers.
Mr. Gray.
I just want to point out that in my role, in my professional life, I was never a supervisor of another employee, but I was offered a position to be a supervisor of another employee, and I accepted it, and I was compensated for it at that time, having never been a supervisor. So, just depends on what industry you're in, and anyone who's been having to do extra work without pay, I feel bad for them. I wish they had had a better mentor in their life to mentor them into a position where they could have asked for that pay. That being said, I'm going to read something from some previous minutes. A motion by Commissioner Russell to accept as presented the 15% pay increase and $450 per month car allowance for acting city manager. Second to the motion, Commissioner Tender. Do you remember that, Commissioner Tender? That's when they appointed acting city manager Vicki Gaynor. 15% and $450. That was what year was that? 2019?
Way back.
Obviously, inflation and things and whatever, math. We'll just call it math. The difference between 15% and 20% isn't a lot. I think if I go back and look at all the different contracts, that amount is close to or same. So it doesn't seem that out of line to do this. And like the HR director said, he's having exponentially more responsibilities. The amount listed at 135 is still below the listed amount for the position at this time that you guys are going to be advertising for. So it does leave room for you to reduce down those duties a little bit for the clerk, if that's the direction we end up going, to accommodate the current salary if, for example, Mr. Lightfoot was selected as the future permanent city manager, without having to further increase the pay. So that's something to think about.
Did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about, is there a mechanism in the way that's written that if he goes back to his normal role in the future, his compensation would go back?
Jennifer and I have discussed this, and so the mechanism, if y'all approve this motion, will apply while he is interim city manager, and will go back to his normal rate of pay or prior rate of pay, current rate of pay when he goes back to just his director position, if he is not appointed a permanent city manager.
Okay. And just some math. What do we have if we approve this, what's the car allowance?
$50 a month.
Okay. So if we do that math, that's just by the salary and car allowance. That's about 32,000-ish less than what we already had budgeted for city manager for the rest of this year, right? Based on the previous salary that was in place and the car allowance.
Technically, yes. However, a severance package was paid out. So I'm going to have to come back and ask for more money in the fiscal 25 budget.
Okay. Thanks for that. But yeah, I guess my point still stands, though. This is still significantly less than what the budget had for city manager. It's not like we're raising our budget because of this. That's just kind of since the money was brought up by.
Let me add that the benefits package is the same that's provided to all general employees.
All right. Ms. Lightfoot, you'll call the roll.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion pass. Discussion and possible approval of updated letter of engagement for city attorney.
You have in front of you an updated agreement. It updates the current agreement you have with the city, with my firm, in two ways. One with the named city attorneys, and two with regard to the hourly rates for partners, associates, and paralegals. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, questions, discussion regarding this letter of engagement? All right, is there a motion for this?
So you were talking earlier how you want an in-house attorney. You're saying like $80,000. You won't get an in-house attorney for $80,000. I'll tell you that right now. But I'm not opposed to an in-house attorney. There are pros and cons to that. So I thought about this, and this is, I guess, my idea or my motion I'd like to set forth is to do this in two ways. One, I'd like to put out RFQ to put it out to look for city attorney and, our current city attorney, they can compete for it. And then also, because that normally, if I'm not mistaken, when they put that out, that goes out for 30 days, right? Is that right? And then also advertise for an in-house attorney at the same time to see if we get any bites. My gut tells me we probably won't get anyone, but it doesn't hurt worth okay? It doesn't hurt worth trying to see if there's any bites on an in-house attorney, because there are benefits to it, but whether they'd be willing to do it for that price is the struggle you're going to get. Yeah. So I guess that would be my motion, is to put out an RFQ and also put out an advertisement for an in-house attorney and see if we get any bites at it. At the same time, they both go for 30 days and see what kind of response we get.
Prior to the ad going out for an in-house attorney, you all would need to meet with Mr. Holton again with a job description, a pay scale. Does that in-house attorney, do you want an attorney as well as a paralegal, or do you just want an attorney? We would need some guidance on what to advertise and what job description should be advertised.
All right, so the motion is to promote motion to advertise RFQ for city attorney and advertise for city attorney in-house for a period of 30 days.
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I would second that.
All right, there's a second. Further discussion from the commission?
Just want to state what we said on Friday. Spoke about, now if we're going to go ahead and we're shopping. So what we potentially could do is just make it more expensive to do business with the next attorneys than the guys we have. Or at the end of 30 days, are we going to revisit this letter?
Well, that's part of the negotiation. Once you do the RFQ, determine which firm that you would like to do business with, then you negotiate the price.
Right.
And if you're not happy with the price, then you go to the next person.
Now, would our current attorneys be competitive at a higher rate? Do we have them locked in now? You know what I mean? That was our speculation on Friday. I'm just bringing it out in the public now again.
The old bird in hand type thing.
Just,
I guess one question and
discussion.
Ms. Myers may not be able to answer it or may not want to answer it. And that would be, to Commissioner Perno's point, we'll go through this 30-day process. We don't like what comes back from the RFQ and or from the in-house attorney. Is how long is this letter being offered to us as it relates to that? Or would that letter be withdrawn if you all put in the RFQ or put in the bid for the RFQ?
I think it's appropriate for me to withdraw this letter if you're going to advertise it for bid.
Okay. So now, if we don't move forward with any of the bids, are we able to come back to this letter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. So I think that clarifies what you're asking, Commissioner Perno.
Yeah, we have to have full, we have to understand the ramifications of what we're doing. So we could potentially be going out there and paying more, at a market price for attorneys. So we're setting ourselves up either, maybe to get a good deal, maybe to pay a lot more, see what the market is. So.
All right. Any further discussion?
I think in a vacuum, putting out an RFQ makes a ton of sense. But at the same time, we're kind of in a highly volatile situation with our budget. And I don't know if I want to take that risk right now while we're trying to figure out our budget. I'm very, very conflicted.
Do we know what we spend now?
I think it's about 150, isn't it?
Yes, it's in that neighborhood.
A month? A year?
Oh, it's a year.
$150,000 a year.
A year, okay.
Depends on how many times we call them and how many ordinances we ask them to put together and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's in that ballpark, which is why I try to get us to ask as many questions as possible whenever they're here. And
and the letter states they're going up $50 an hour. So when we put this out, you're going to see comparative rates at what this letter is or more. I mean, you're not. I don't think we're going to get a bargain. We may, if you get.
I will add, for an in-house, there will be benefits. That adds about 30% to the salary. And typically, there will need to be a paralegal or at least an assistant. So I would project the potential personnel cost to be in excess of $200,000. For two. Commissioner, you looked at me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I just did a quick calculation at $120,000 for a knowledgeable attorney with the credentials, and that may be on the low side, plus 30%. It's an assistant, not even a paralegal will definitely be higher than just an assistant.
Yeah, someone that went to law school isn't going to stick around for $120,000 for very long.
Yeah.
Yes,
sir.
That's why it's hard to get an intern or in-house attorney. Typically, I researched this. Typically, small cities will contract it out to a law firm. A large city that can afford it, typically they have in-house attorneys. Like you see it with a county that has a much bigger budget than ours. They have in-house attorneys. In fact, I think they got multiple. I think they got 2 or 3 of them on staff. But mid-size, it's mixed. There's some that contract it out to a law firm, and then there's some that do in-house. So, and I would encourage y'all to look at the pros and cons. There are pros and cons either way. So it's, yeah.
All right. Comments from the public? Mr. Walker. Sorry we don't have any dinner for you all, but.
Are we invited to dinner?
If Chick-fil-A is still open, yeah.
The question I have is the $150,000 that you gave us, was that inclusive of when they have to go out and get special attorneys? Does that include the lawsuits that we have to pay? attorneys for that?
Our lawsuits are covered by our insurance premiums. Those attorneys are covered. And plus, so far, since I've been here for 4 years, the city has not had to pay any additional cost for any lawsuit that's been settled. So there isn't, other than our premiums.
Well, I understand also that the attorneys are allowed to hire specialists if it's outside their area. Does that 150,000 include those? And I remember a couple of them that we had.
We use a labor attorney as well, and and the labor attorney is not in that 150,000, but that's minimal. I don't know that number off the top of my head.
Right. So we do, that doesn't include some outside attorneys.
The labor attorney.
We've been through this before. We had an in-house attorney, and it didn't work out too well twice. So it's a tough thing to do. You got to take in all considerations. And the city attorney is, no disrespect, it's the Jackson firm, which has been with us for many years.
Yes, sir.
So in my industry, we have contracts that are set up. You get a base year, you get 4 option years, even for professional services like this. At the end of that 5 years, you go out and you recompete, unless you have a really good justification for why you're not going to recompete another 5-year contract. Is the commission obligated to follow the city's procurement policy? Because if you're not, I would argue that the commission should be. And if you are, I would ask, do you guys have a single source justification that's been approved by y'all to just extend this contract out again? Because it concerns me when the commission just decides, let's just stick with whoever it is, whatever it is, and just keep going and never do competition. There's pros to competition, there's cons to competition. I don't blame that law firm one bit for wanting to retract the letter if you decide to compete it out. I would do the same thing. I do have concerns, though, is that when this law firm was selected, there were more attorneys at that law firm. I realize we usually only see the same 2, Mr. Obos and Ms. Myers. Occasionally we saw some other ones. But I know some of those partners have left. The letter says you're getting the access to 3 partners only, paralegals and assistant attorneys. So I would ask the commission, like, you need to think, have you felt like in the last however many years that we've had this attorney, I think it's at least 4 or 5, because I'm pretty sure the last one got indicted right after I moved here. So do you feel like in that 5 years that you've got adequate legal services from this firm? And if you do, then I recommend you extend it for the reasons that Mr. Peoples pointed out, to get through this volatile time that we have. It looks like it renews annually. Is that correct? They would have the option to opt out in a year.
We serve at the pleasure of the commission. They can fire us at any time, regardless of what the term is.
Okay. So I would recommend that you just go ahead and extend it and get through this volatile time that the city is in. And one of the things you guys need to look at with this procurement policy is, how do we handle these kinds of contracts? Do we put things out for 5 years with options that you can exercise? And then after 5 years, are we obligated to recompete? I mean, there's all kinds of contracts that can just get extended. And if you love a contractor, it's great, use them forever. But maybe you're missing out on an even better one or a cheaper one. I mean, we always say it could be more expensive, but maybe there's a law firm that could do it cheaper. But I say extend it and revisit this whole topic in a year.
Yes, sir.
I've got a general statement and then some questions I think would help the public understand some things. So my first is not a distrust in every lawyer, but necessarily in the process, right? So I've dealt with a lot of city lawyers across the country and a lot of municipalities, and you run into one of two scenarios. Either the lawyer is great, forthcoming with information, knows a lot of things, and can help in every scenario or most scenarios, and is a benefit to the commission, the board, whoever they're answering to, because their subject matter knowledge is that vast, right? You hire large firms and large companies to come in like you did after Hurricane Michael and things like that because their subject matter knowledge is so vast that they don't have to go outside to get the information. The other thing that I see in a number of municipalities is that it comes down to who you talk to all the time, right? If the city attorney is always working with the city manager and that's the person that they talk to 90% of the time, they are influenced by those conversations more than the conversations that they have with the commission because you're simply in front of them more, right? They say that, the closest 5 people to you influence you the most. So if the person that they're always talking to is the city manager or the person in charge, and it's not the commission itself, they can be influenced by those conversations and therefore provide guidance based on those conversations rather than maybe the direction that the commission wants. And so I would caution against that in your mindsets when you go through any of this process is if you're not having enough adequate conversations with your attorney, those conversations could be influenced by others. And then just genuinely, I think it would help everyone understand what is the scope currently of the city attorney. What do you use them for? What do you go out of house for? Why do we have a city attorney and how are they helpful to everyone? And then the second question, which is kind of quick, is this a rate increase or are we pretty much, within the margin of inflation?
So this is a rate increase, and it's also meant to update the city attorneys who you have seen, and at least in the year that I have been here. We do still have a very large firm of local government attorneys, but I only added the names that I thought would be familiar to you. In terms of what do, I attend these meetings and provide you support as you request of me. I feel like a majority of my work for the city is really supporting staff in between meetings with their projects, with their contracts, with their questions, and providing advice to them.
No, I appreciate it. And I think that helps people out because I know I've heard a lot of people in the community say, well, is this the person going out and litigating our lawsuits or is this everything else? And I think it is helpful to understand that when we're talking about procurement issues, when we're talking about, were things bid properly, was the point scaling proper when we did these things or was favoritism given to someone else and stuff like that? Those city attorneys play a big role in those positions as an accountability if you don't have a city clerk. And so making sure that you're utilizing the city attorney to their fullest is important, and who you choose should be how you want to utilize that city attorney.
All right, any other discussion?
Yeah, sure. I got something. So Mr. Detwile asked about inflation. If you use the inflation calculator from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, if you do $245 back in 2020 and you use the Bureau of Labor Statistics inflation calculator to today, that's $306. So it is right at inflation.
All right, so there is a motion to do the RFQ for city attorney and advertise for city attorney in-house for 30 days. All right, Mr. Lightfoot.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
No.
Commissioner Perno?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
No, motion failed. Back to the discussion and possible approval of updated letter of engagement for city attorney. Is there a motion to approve the updated letter of engagement for city attorney?
I'll motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, comments from the public?
Christy McElroy. I think what I've seen from, and no offense, is it's been more about certain people being protected. As a city attorney, all of these people are elected to represent the taxpayers. And that means you need to be looking after the taxpayers. I've seen times when, honestly, your firm did not step up. I'll give you a prime example. Mike Gordon was fired. He sent communication saying, do not use my name anymore. And this city continued to use his stamp and stamp his stamp on items that needed a building official's approval. This was brought before the city commission, and it was like, oh, well, that's fine. It wasn't fine. It wasn't fine because that man was no longer with the city. And that stamp should have been returned immediately. That's an embarrassment. So, it's a new chapter. And I guess what I'd like to hear is, are you going to be representing the fortress, or are you going to be representing the taxpayers in their best interest to make sure that lawsuits maybe don't happen? Because you need to not just look at legal opinion, because anybody can do that. You need to be really thinking long-term and doing the best thing for the taxpayers for $300 an hour.
Additional public commentary? Mr. Lightfoot?
May we discuss, or can I make a statement?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say, before we vote, that my reasoning for what we're doing is to kind of protect the budget situation that we're in, and I'm not against revisiting this at a mid-year or at another time, because we are going to be looking at all of our contractual services, and this could have been the tip of the iceberg as to where we're going, but we're gonna look at this more. So I just think with us putting the budget together and where we're going, that this may be the best route financially. So, but maybe not. But I'm willing to take that risk at another time. So.
That's kind of where I'm at too. I just want to second what Commissioner Perno said.
All right, Mr. Lightfoot.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
No.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion pass. All right, discussion of Kensaw Park conceptual plans.
So, Mayor, we have before you several different options to replace the damaged splash pad at Kensaw Park. Of course, option one is the do nothing. We leave a damaged splash pad there. Option two, we rebuild another splash pad exactly like it is. However, it would be raised. We would have option three, a green space and pavilion. Option four, some pickleball or bocce ball courts.
Okay, so hold on. Would y'all like to discuss this at the next meeting? Now that we have these different options, that we can review those and bring this back for the next meeting?
Yeah, can I just make a suggestion for an option since we're here?
Sure.
So whenever I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I'm not saying this is what must be done. I'm just saying let's add it to the option list. Is that a lot of the complaints is that they want it back up is they feel like there were two splash pads. Now there's only one. There could be another option, which is that we can still provide water, but do more of like a squirt pad. You know, the kind where they have it like the malls and things like that, where it wouldn't really require as much supervision because it's just a cushion pad with some water that shoots up. I feel like it'd be significantly cheaper than a splash pad, but it still provides the same service. So if people really want a splash pad, they can go over to Ken Griffin. If they just want their kids to play in some water while they sit next to more water, then that's an option that they have that would be significantly cheaper.
And that's exactly some feedback that staff would like, is other options that you may not see presented here that we can bring back and we can make a decision on what to move forward with.
All right. So is everyone okay with discussing this next commission meeting?
Yes, sir.
All right. Commissioner Perno, discussion regarding the appointment of an additional TPO board member.
Well, my name's on here, but there are 2 TPO seats for City of Lynn Haven. I've had the pleasure of being on the TPO since I was elected in 2019. The other seat was formerly Mayor Margot, then it was Brandon Aldridge, then it was Judy Vandergriff. Miss Judy Tinder is now in seat 4. So since April, there hasn't been a second member second representative of Lynn Haven on the TPO. So I'm just bringing it to everybody's attention. So it's been several months now, and we've been a little quicker about filling positions. I know lots going on, but and there's a meeting tomorrow. There'll be another meeting in November. I think it's October, or I believe it's November. They try to do them quarterly unless they have other issues or whatnot. But and I know Commissioner Warwick spoke about the DOT. The speaker at the leagues was the head of the DOT, and I mean, I don't think there's a more important thing. And we have 2 representatives. Do we want to go on with one? We need to talk about it and do something. So
I mean, I think we need as much visibility and voice, certainly as we can get. And if there's an opportunity,
I'm losing weight, so I'm getting less visible.
Got you.
And only one of me is.
So is there a commissioner that wants to volunteer to be on the TPO board?
I have talked to Commissioner Perno before. I don't have a problem in the future. Right now, my health won't allow me to go do that as well.
Commissioner Warwick.
Well, I'm on the Bay County League of Cities, so that keeps me pretty busy. So if I did it, I'd have to step down from that.
I think it has to be an elected official. I don't think there's another elected. There's only elected officials in the TPO that I've seen, but I don't know. I don't know all the rules of the TPO. Trust me, I'm not the TPO expert.
All right, Commissioner Peebles.
So they meet quarterly. What time do they meet?
It's 3:30 at the Bay Transit. It can be at different places, but it's at the Bay Transit office on 11th Street, right behind Juvie. Maybe you know where Juvie is from when you were younger.
Nope, never been arrested.
That's good.
So,
okay.
My thought is, I think Commissioner Peebles would be good. But my thought is for Commissioner Warwick, and I say that, or either for Commissioner Warwick or Commissioner Peebles. Commissioner Tender said she couldn't be able to do it, only because Commissioner Perno is rolling off in 2 years because he's terming out. I know your election is coming up. You may or may not run again. I don't know. But to have some type of continuity on the board for the city of Lynn Haven. So I think it would be good to know if we're going to have that person that remains on the board to have that continuity, that we can still have whatever programs and projects that we would like to see sort of emphasized from our standpoint to sort of continue to be pushed without an election interference on that case. But either way, I think both of you guys will serve well in that position. Commissioner Perno, did you want a decision? You want someone tonight?
I'm cool with whatever you guys decide. I just want, I think it's important that we fill the chairs.
Okay.
I'm not pressuring anybody. I think it's not my decision to make. It's y'all's.
Yeah, like I said, I don't have a problem taking it, but if I did, I'd have to step down from the Bay County League of Cities, and someone would have to take that spot, and they meet once a month.
All right. So would you like to be on TPO or Bay County League of Cities?
To me?
Commissioner Peebles?
I'll take the TPO.
All right. Now, is that something we need to officially vote on, appointing?
Yes, please.
All right.
I'd like to make a motion that Commissioner Sam Peebles join me on the TPO.
Second.
All right. Motion second. Comments from the public?
Mr. Perno, I'm just wondering, maybe you forgot that I asked this in passing, but did you ask if you can appoint a member of the staff or a citizen?
There's a meeting tomorrow. I can ask tomorrow.
Okay, I would appreciate that because I did research and it's up to the board of the TPO if they want to
I just know that every meeting I go to.
No, I agree, and I want somebody there. Here's the thing: I want somebody who's consistent. I would love if the board says yes, we can approve somebody that the commission nominates. We need somebody with an expertise in traffic and engineering and stuff like that, rather than a commissioner who's does risk management or doesn't work in traffic, runs a restaurant, a pastor, a restaurant manager. Like, let's appoint experts if we can.
It's comprised of all elected officials right now, and I don't know what their expertise is other than what yours is. Appreciate it.
I go back with the TPO, Mayor Margot, Tommy Thomas. I go way back then. I go before the hurricane, and I go there when Tommy Thomas walked out and told TPO to shove it. The only person that's ever spoken at that TPO is me, as a civilian. When I left, they came up to me and says, it's about time somebody from Lynn Haven said something. I says, yeah, we had one representative here, and you're allowed to have civilian representatives on there. There's certain chairs and areas that you can join.
There's committees.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Mr. Miller was on one.
Leon Miller was the most outspoken person at the TPO for Lynn Haven. So, and you can have a civilian.
Those meetings happen before the TPO meeting. They lead up to it. Ben, you've been there, right?
It is important because the TPO controls a heck of a lot. They've split this city in half, almost destroyed us, and we didn't have good representation at the time. So it should be thought, and you should have two on there. Speak out, and people can join the committees.
All right, thank you. Additional commentary?
For point of clarification, Mr. Perno, are you a voting member of the TPO, or are you just a non-voting member, basically an appointed member to give information, stuff like that, as the board, or are you a voting member?
We vote.
Okay. So it's Florida State Statute 339.175, if you guys want to go look it up. That's what dictates TPOs in the state of Florida. Voting members and non-voting members have different distinguishes on whether they can or cannot be elected officials, but voting members of a TPO must be elected officials of general purpose local governments, with a few notable exceptions. Point officials for transit TPOs, officials from agencies that operate or administer major modes of transportation. Just going over it. Planning board members, TPOs, may also include a member of a statutorily authorized planning board among its voting members. So it is possible and you would want to go to the board, and I'd ask them tomorrow, Mr. Peoples maybe fills in for a meeting or two, get the information at the next meeting from the board on whether or not you can appoint someone, and you could take someone from one of your planning boards, one of your other boards that is an engineer or something like that, and appoint them as a voting member in their place. But it does look like it's plausible based on that. Maybe the city attorney looks into that state ordinance, but just for reference, that's what Google says.
All right, other public commentary. Mr. Lightfoot?
Hold up, just a second.
Okay.
Just for the record, this was very last minute, so I cannot make the meeting tomorrow.
We understand.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Lightfoot?
Commissioner Perno?
Yes.
Commissioner Warwick?
Yes.
Commissioner Peebles?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Nelson?
Yes, motion passed.